Location. I can speak. I can. Hold on. You can't just sing and do this thing and settle down into the. This is my content disclaimer. Read that while I'm figuring out what's going on. Hi. Yerba mate. A beverage, because I've been in a big hurry. And man, that mic is close to you guys. I'm gonna move it closer to me. It's mine after all. By golly. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's a disaster of disasters, guys. It's disastrous. I don't know if you realize how disastery it is. The whole thing is a disaster. Do you not realize that Terry McAuliffe was the most influential and progressive voice in the Democratic Party? And his personality, he's basically like Caucasian Obama. There's nothing he could say that wasn't right while it was wrong at the same time. He was a miracle candidate. I don't know how anyone thinks that his losing is not a bellwether for the bellwethery bellwether of the bellwether. Yes. Is my shirt purple finally? Is that good? I have to move the screen. Hold on one second. See if Yeah, it's purple. See, this is the shirt I was talking about earlier. This is the purple. Let's see, it was purple. This is the same shirt, I swear to you, as this from this morning. Please recognize that. I appreciate people for noticing. Seriously, how blue that was this morning? Yeah. The pen is blue. The goddamn pen is blue. So it's purple. This is full on purple. Like I said it was. I wouldn't lie to you about the shade of my shirt, which sounds like a Sting song, quite frankly. It's lavender. Get out of here, Andrea. Shame on you. I do not have yes, and it was making my hair blue at the same time. So see? All right. Motang, welcome. All right. We have a special treat for you today, a couple of special treats. One is I'm going to show you one of our own. Today, we will be addressing our dear friend. Let me see. No, that's not good. Our dear friend David Pakman, who wants you to know how much of a disasterness this is. And I picked this one as an example of the disasterness, the disaster holes that are all over the news media right now, telling us what a disaster everything is and when it's a disaster. And I like David Pakman a lot. I won't say I love him. I don't know the man. I give people room to be, an issue. I don't want this to come back. Insofar as I have seen, I have liked the gentleman most times. However, he and Tom Hartman and others were all in on the panic talk today. And I saw Tom Hartman's take on it, and I heard some of the other folks, and I was like, I'm going to guess this is the same conversation happening everywhere. So on that, completely unknown, we're going to jump right into David Pakman telling us what's what and why there should be a panic. And this is a masterclass. This will be Patreon graphic up there. I don't have a lot of room to move. I disappear. It's very sad. Which now has the Metallica song stuck in my head. I disappear. This is election. And the reason I knew this because the title of this: Election Disaster in caps for Democrats in 2021 races. Panic rising. Panic rising. So remember what you were promised in this, and this is, me, kids. I don't clickbait for this very same reason. Let's check out what the disaster is and how panic is rising.
So today we start with last night's election results, which are...
Okay, I don't know what's happening with the mustache. Is it being trimmed to be thin? It is, it looks like a novelty mustache, David. I love you, man, but seriously, either go full handlebar or put some weight on that sucker or dye it blue. I don't know what's happening. That's going to throw me off.
And I'll skip to the conclusion. They're an absolute.
And it's lighter on one side. And I feel you for that. It's the very reason why I don't grow a mustache. But, you know, you got to compensate for that. You know, don't be afraid of a little eyeliner. It'll pick it up.
Disaster for Democrats. They could spell major trouble.
And, oh, thank you, by the way, David, for showing your, this is his thumbnail. Dems panic about loss. And it's Pelosi. Now, did we lose any House seats and affect the vote coming up on the infrastructure bill or any other bills? No, we did not. Is there a potential that this, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. This is a sign for next year. Do you have a whole year between now and the next election? Yeah, you do. Is there a lot of shit you can get done between now and then while you panic? Mm-hmm. But this is it's not a picture of McAuliffe. It's not a picture of Biden. It's not a picture of, you know, people standing like, this is a choice, David. You're making a choice.
For the Democrats and for the left, to the extent that.
Why are you air quoting the left? There's no need to little bunny fuck you, the
left exists in the United States.
Excellent point, Amy. It's Movember. He's growing his mustache for Movember. Okay. Well, we'll give him a pass. But he does look like a dinner theater Doc Holliday right now. It's not happening. I think, David, we love you. Wear a cowboy hat for the rest of the month.
Through the Democratic Party. That's an issue we can talk about as well. There are a range of opinions about how much of a disaster last night.
No, it isn't. There are no gradations of disaster, David. And to everyone out there using the fucking word disaster, there are no gradations of disaster. If you're standing here being able to talk to me without a gun to your head, it's not a disaster. It's an issue. It's a problem. It's a concern. It's an area where work might be required. It's not a disaster. And if you're saying it's a disaster, then go all in. Commit. It's a fucking nightmare. There is no rescuing back. We are all Virginians now. Go for it. But for Christ's sake, there are no gradations of disaster.
Results are, and that's fine. But it's not good. It's not good. The big race, the major race that so many were looking at was the Virginia gubernatorial race.
Which, for the record, with the exception of Terry McAuliffe's win during the Obama administration, always goes opposite to the current administration. But no, I'm sorry. This has never happened before. Disaster! I'm on fire.
Where the Democratic governor, Ralph Northam, who won by 9 in 2017 in Virginia.
By the way, I'm not going after David. This is a knee-jerk reaction. I'm talking about the messaging of this. And I love Tom Hartman, too. This is a problem I have with that's twofold. One is the belief system around it. But the other problem I have is that this is clickbait thinking. This is not based on reality. This is clickbait thinking. Now, we'll see if he sticks to the clickbait. That's the test.
Was term limited out. 2 contenders were vying to replace Ralph.
And by the way, that's Terry McAuliffe, by the way, who looks like Ronald McDonald decided to take off the makeup and show you what he really looks like. Or possibly the Joker if he wore makeup. When he's like, never mind.
It was Democrat Terry McAuliffe and Republican Glenn Youngkin. Now, the polls were very tight over the last 3 weeks.
Right. Coin flip. Now, a disaster would be, oh my God, a complete Trumpkin won a state that never goes Trumpkin by 80-20. That would be a disaster. That would be a nightmare bellwether moment. 80-20. It's been a coin flip the whole fucking time. It's been a coin flip the whole time. And it normally flips in Virginia to the opposite of the current national administration.
Continued saying it's basically even. Could be +1 or 2 in either direction.
Which is how it actually shook out.
Terry McAuliffe, a completely milquetoast Democrat, not particularly inspiring in any way, not particularly distressing in any way.
Which is certainly a ticket for you've sold me.
Then sort of like distressing in the sense of, is this guy really going to inspire people to turn out and vote?
By the way, if you're looking to be inspired by a functionally managerial politician in your life, get a family.
And Youngkin, on the other hand, a truly
dweeby-looking fellow. Look at that situation. Look at the hair situation right now. Honestly, he looks like an extra in a Coen Brothers movie, which is why all of his ads had to be militaristic to compensate for the fact that he looks like a dweeby assistant principal.
Radical Republican playing up cultural issues as expected and as Republicans have been doing over the last many years. And
as Democrats served to them on a silver platter by both running on those issues and then playing dumb.
Youngkin won. Now, interestingly, let's put aside for a second, no Republicans are claiming fraud that I'm aware of in any of these races from yesterday, even though you had some Republicans saying it looks like Democrats are stealing votes in Virginia. And if McCall...
Yeah, that's the Trumpian way of covering from now on.
Wins, we'll probably say there was fraud, and now they're all silent. We can't even deal with that today because it's so absurd. But as the result...
Oh, we can, David, trust me. You and I we deal with absurdity every day. I think you can handle it.
As the results came in early in the night last night, Glenn Youngkin got up to even a 10.5 point lead, I think, at one point, as the more left-leaning...
When they hadn't counted the left-leaning counties
with large populations were counted, the lead tightened and tightened, but it ended up being a roughly 2-point win in Virginia.
Roughly. It was 2.2.
For the Republican Glenn Youngkin.
Yeah, 3 million people in this whole fucking country, 3.2 million people have decided your future, ladies and gentlemen. Your country has been decided, not even by all of them. Just look at this situation. The Republican Youngkin voters, which 70,000 Youngkin voters have. This is a referendum. 70,000 people in the state of Virginia are a referendum on Biden's entire administration. 70,000 people. I don't even know what you're thinking, that we have a federal democracy that covers all the states. No, Virginia has spoken. So, as goes 70,000 people in who are concerned about Loudoun County. As they go, so goes America. Just get used to the idea.
Being a roughly 2-point win in Virginia for the Republican Glenn Youngkin. Now, the scary part, the question we were...
Oh, dear. Here comes. Hold on, guys. Get a grip on something. Here comes the scary part, because we've been warned, disaster and panic rising. If he says this is the scary part, this is... Okay.
Talking about yesterday, including on our live stream with many of our viewers from Virginia, and it's been written about extensively in the first few hours of today by all of the typical political voices. Mm-hmm. Is the Virginia gubernatorial election a bellwether for 2022? Some say...
I know, but I'm sure you'll tell us that it absolutely is. This is, panic, right? Disaster. So obviously there's across the board, everyone is saying that this is it.
Is the Virginia gubernatorial election a bellwether for 2022? Mm-hmm. Some say yes, definitely. This spells disaster for Democrats in 2022.
Totally. That's what your title of the video says. It's also what I infer from the thumbnail.
Say no. Some say, well,
who are these people? Do they even know the meaning of the word disaster, David?
Somewhat, but not totally.
Oh, I want to talk to those people. Somewhat, but not totally. Why didn't that make it into the thumbnail? Why is election disaster for Democrats somewhat but not totally in 2021 races? Panic somewhat but not totally rising.
What there is no way to deny is that bellwether aside for 2022.
No, there is no bellwether aside. Without the bellwether part, it's fucking meaningless. But please go ahead.
When the last race for Virginia governor was won by 9 by a Democrat, and now it's won by 2 by a Republican, that's an 11-point swing in.
And so what do? 2 for the candidate, 2 for the issues, 3 for people who voted in the last election, taking a break. An extra half a point for lazy voters. So there's like a 3-point swing. Okay.
Cycle. That's not good for Democrats in Virginia, period. Now, in a moment, we'll look at the historical. It's not uncommon.
Wait. What's not uncommon?
That in Virginia, the governor's race goes the opposite way that the White House went in the previous election.
So I didn't realize this was a holiday. I didn't realize that today, you guys didn't realize, today is Disaster Day. It's a national holiday. Every time but for only one party. So whenever the Dems win the White House, today is officially Disaster Day for Republicans. It's like a flip-flopping Christmases or what have you. And then so if Republicans win an election, today is Disaster Day for Democrats. We kind of like flip a coin on this holiday. It's Disaster Day, everybody.
That's not uncommon, but it still doesn't bode well for 2022, even if you concede that it's a historical pattern. So we're going to talk about.
Historically, it's also a pattern that the House flips for whoever is in office. It doesn't bode well for anyone. You know who doesn't bode well? You know who the flip-flop doesn't bode well for? The American voter being flippant about their democracy. It doesn't bode well for civics because it makes no sense that you're like, well, I'll vote for these guys this time, but next time I'm really going to. You know what? I didn't come out and the other guys got elected, so I'm going to come out this time to add numbers to the midterms. How could you put fire on David's hair? I do not have the technology on this setup to do that. It's at the house. If we ever do it again, I will. And I'm sorry, David, ahead of time. Again, we love you. We adore you. We're concerned about the mustache, but we're okay. But I'm only making an example of you. You are by no means the only person doing this bullshit.
Virginia.
And it is indeed bullshit.
State that we were hoping was leaning more and more left. And Republicans won it. And they won it with a really simple tactic, and this is important to understand.
Okay, what did they win Virginia on? Because clearly Trump came in, he gave a rally, they gathered all around, they like Youngkin cleaved to Trump's bosom and proved his bona fides as a Trumpy, right? That's what happened, right? And by asserting this, and there were no fouls on the McAuliffe side. He's a dynamic speaker, very exciting guy, and had zero slip-ups on the campaign trail, and didn't say anything that would panic women voters in Virginia and make them race to the polls to vote for anyone but McAuliffe. That didn't happen.
Democrats are not very good at messaging. It's cliche to say it. We've done so many interviews about it. We've talked to Thomas Frank about it.
Bullshit. We'll get to that in a minute.
We've talked to George Lakoff. We've talked about.
I don't care who you talked about. You didn't talk to me about it, and I'll teach you a lesson or two. Democrats aren't bad with messaging. They're great with the wrong message. See hashtag defund the police. They're great at chasing their own tails and burying the lead on the good stuff. That's the problem. The activist class of the Democratic Party has a different strategy, messaging-wise, than the rank and file. And the rank and file are agreeable people who are deferential to that group because they believe that the people who are in the activist class deserve to be heard. It's a very nice trait. It's a very personable trait. It's a good thing for people to be, okay? But they screw their own pooch when they do this. I did. I talked about this last year. Exactly.
In so many different ways. Democrats are not very good at messaging. In particular, Republicans know the messaging that will get people to vote and that will get people to vote for them.
Also bullshit. You know how I know that? Who actually has the House, the Senate, and the White House right now? If we were terrible at it, if we sucked at it, and we'd never be there. It's inconsistent. And therefore, a focus on the consistency of it and not getting out of over our skis is the important part. But you do realize in this disaster that we lost no House seats, no Senate seats. We didn't lose the White House yesterday. The fucking the Virginia governor's race flipped, and it always flips.
It doesn't matter if it's based in fact. It doesn't matter if it's totally wrong. They understand, Republicans, that if they get their base angry enough and scared enough.
By the way, that doesn't apply in Virginia. They didn't run on an immigration is storming here. Virginians don't get elected the same way Arizona or Texas or any of the states with a quote unquote immigration issue or problem come from. Virginians went to the polls not because Republicans scared them with a message. They went to the polls because Democrats scared them with theirs.
It will motivate their voters to go to the polls.
Yes, exactly. Progressives voted Sinema in office. Excellent reminder. She checked all the boxes. She checked the boxes. When you have people who have to check your boxes, you are no different than someone, but she's LGBT and she dyes her hair and she does this and she eats granola and therefore she must be the kind of person that would vote my way. This is the same way that people end up getting in a van because the person there that asked them to get in the van is wearing a cross and they end up in a shallow grave.
There is just no...
By the way, Manchin is not a fraud. Manchin is a run-of-the-mill West Virginia politician. They don't know what the fuck they want. There's not enough people in West Virginia to deserve 2 Senate seats in my estimation. That's life. He's exactly who he has to be a Democrat elected in West Virginia. Your problem's with the people of West Virginia. Even though they like shit, they haven't statistically voted for it over this time. They put Manchin in office. Anyway, we'll talk about that.
And I hate that. I mean, this is not even a political thing. This is almost psychology, sociology.
Almost.
There is no way that Democrats can get the same amount of motivation and energy to get their base to turn out by pitching green energy, equal equality of opportunity, and all these things that actually matter, compared to how Republicans do it.
Bullshit. They obviously did. Biden ran as a centrist who was running on exactly those things. Professional management of the government, normalcy, and all of these things which are beneficial to everyone. And the voting base turned out because the alternative was awful. What the issue in Youngkin and McAuliffe is that they tried to paint Youngkin in a way that he ran from. He stiff-armed Trump. He stayed away from him. He never let himself get photographed with the fucking guy, even though Trump is, I'm sure, claiming that this was another one of his wins. Even though if we looked at that interview with Trump and he's like, I don't know, he's good, but I don't want him to, I hope it's not one of the wrong ones, and I hope he doesn't go against my numbers. He didn't give a shit. He wasn't engaged in this at all. But he's going to claim the win because it was a win for them. But Youngkin won by trying to be. This is actually more of a win, curiously enough, as right-wing as Youngkin seems. This is more of a win for like Lincoln Project Republicans than it is, ironically, since they sent those tiki torch guys to his thing, than it was for Trump. That's another conversation.
With fear.
Hal is pooping on a guy many of us like. No, I'm pooping on the message, Mo. And the Beltway thought about this. We don't deal with this sometimes, and this is about language. I like David. I like him as a person. I'm using this as an example of a bunch of different people.
And with anger. And Republicans did it in Virginia with talk of fixing education and getting rid of critical race theory.
That's not just what they ran on. The Loudoun County Board of Education story and the fact that the Loudoun County Board of Education hid a sexual assault around the idea that they were protecting a member of the LGBT community is what panicked it about. It wasn't, and the CRT part of it was like a cherry on top.
Very same Republicans, think about the absurdity from a value standpoint. The same Republicans who claim that as a value, they don't want government doing too much, they want to limit the areas that government is even involved, they got people angry and afraid enough to go out and vote by saying, we're going to get in there and tell schools what to teach. That was a big part of Glenn Youngkin's campaign.
Well, sort of. Telling the schools what not to teach and to go back to teaching reading, writing, and arithmetic, which is always the story they fall back on. Telling them what not to teach is very distinctly different from telling them that we're going to promote CRT or the 1619 Project and all that kind of stuff. Now, in Virginia schools and in a couple other states, the CRT program is taught to administrators and teachers with the premise that they will teach the sort of findings and social structuring that comes from CRT. So CRT is not taught in elementary and middle school and high schools. But in Virginia in particular, they were teaching CRT specifically to teachers and administrators with the idea that they would plan their lesson plans around a softer, gentler version of this, an indoctrinating form of this idea. In Virginia, for real, no question. It's not being done in hardly any other state, but Virginia was a bellwether on that idea and a testing front. In the same way that Minneapolis, ran a defund the police actual program, just like Portland did, and now they're having to backtrack and hire more cops because that decision was made. Everywhere else, they're saying Democrats are running on defund the police, and they did not. All across the country, that was not landing anywhere. But in the two places that did, it was a real thing. Virginia was one of the places where that's true. Just telling you. You don't have to like it. That was really in the curriculum.
And the people around Youngkin, interviews.
And that's also why the Virginia race got so much attention nationwide on Fox News and Sean Hannity and all this. They ran all kinds of stuff on it. Thank you, Luis. Yes, Virginia is a very odd state.
Republican voters in Virginia showed they were voting Youngkin, many of them, because they wanted him to deal with education and critical race theory. It's absurd.
No, the critical race theory was not the primary in that thing. It was not. It was this particular, and I'll have to, hold on. Let me see if I can look it up real quick. Let's see. Grab on this guy. Move my chat out of the way. See a bathroom. Okay. So, this is, yeah. Okay. This is what the turning point was. Teen boy sexually assaulted classmate in school bathroom, judge says. Students and staff from multiple schools across the county participated in a walkout in protest of how the county handled the reporting of the assault. Loudoun County judge, this is a 15-year-old boy accused of sexually assaulting a female classmate in a bathroom back in May. This is this year, okay? Kids are just going back to school. According to Loudoun County Sheriff's Office, detectives were made aware by school officials of an assault at Stonebridge High School on May 28th. On July 8th, a teenager, who was 14 at the time, was arrested and charged with forcible sodomy. The judge determined the evidence presented was sufficient for a finding of guilt on both counts. The ruling of the juvenile court equivalent of a guilty charge. Biberaj said the teen remains in detention, but his sentencing is continued pending trial of a second alleged sexual assault, which occurred in October at a different Loudoun County school in which he's been charged. A female student at Broad Run High School told a Loudoun County Sheriff's Office that she had been forced into a classroom, held against her will, and inappropriately touched, according to this. The 15-year-old was arrested and charged with sexual battery. At the conclusion of both matters, the court will determine if this is appropriate. Okay, no one should have to endure what this family has endured, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Students, day after the verdict was handed down, they participated in a walkout and protest how the county handled the reporting of the assault. In a post circulating on social media, organizers said the walkout was to show solidarity to victims of sexual violence and demand safety in our schools. Stonebridge High School during the walkout, she said she witnessed a small group of several dozen students gathering outside the school at 10 a.m. Let's see. All right. In the months, and this is because, let's see, I don't know if they put this in there. What arrests was made in 2 different assaults. I want to acknowledge our process and procedures are not adequate to respond to these recent events. It's become clear that our administrative procedures have not kept pace with the growth we have seen in our county. Through these events, the Loudoun County Public Schools has complied with the obligations under Title IX. However, we have found this process outlined under Title IX, addressing schools in K through 12. The idea was that this kid was using the girls' room under the premise that he was trans or non-binary. And again, they have not shown I don't know the full case evidence. We'll see, but this is a situation that is not the responsibility of the trans community. This is lax laws and inadequate rulings around this to deal with the depth of this issue that allows, at least in terms of sexual arousal, a male who is heterosexual in his tendencies to take advantage of rules made to protect trans kids or non-binary kids and is using it as a way to weaponize sexual assault. And this was a big story. Yes, one kid in 2 schools did this, and it went unreported, and the school swept it under the rug because they were worried about the implications of he was allegedly saying he was non-binary or trans or what have you. Again, this goes to my point that the Rachel Dolezals of the world are not the problem of Black America. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you get me? Anything Rachel Dolezal does while she pretends to be black is not the fault or responsibility of black people. If she steals a scholarship from someone else, that has nothing to do with whether or not black people are getting affirmative action scholarships and the issue with that, and she's adding to that pile. No, she is a separate entity in and of herself. And this kid, what he did and what he's doing does not weigh on trans kids or non-binary kids. It is not their responsibility what this boy does. It is the responsibility of the adults in that school to protect against those circumstances because they can happen. And pretending they can't happen because you don't want to upset the activist class on one side is leaving girls, especially in this circumstance, to be exploited, by boys or men that are taking advantage of the fact that you are too politically weak-kneed to deal with the depth of the issue that's confronting you in the day. So anyways, this was a big story. And if Loudoun County had not swept it under the rug or tried to hide from it or, tiptoed around this instead of just going, no, we don't care what you identify as. If you can't go into the bathroom and sexually assault someone. And what everybody around was saying was essentially that he was a poser and that he took advantage of the rules. And therefore, the parents' backlash was against the rules. No, there's 2 different attacks. Somebody's saying, hold on, let me scroll back. Somebody is saying, Hal, it says she was pushed into a classroom. There were 2 different attacks. There were at 2 different schools, same guy. And insofar as I know, definitely on the second one, but in the first one, either identifying as trans or non-binary legitimately or pretending to do so he could take advantage of this. The idea is that the belief around everybody that talked about this is that he was a poser, that he was a trans trender, as they call them online. And again, if indeed he is, that is not the fault nor the responsibility of the trans community, full grown or child. That is the responsibility of the adults in this circumstance, recognizing that they are threading a needle in reality and having to keep better track of this. And establishing firm rules about, genital bathrooms, unless there's an extraordinary nature in schools. So, I was always sure that Dolezal was part black because her hair is just like mine, so she fooled me and I didn't even care. Yeah, she did that to her hair. But I think it's a good analogy. You know what I mean? I think it helps people understand that a lot of the laws and rules that parents are concerned about that affects allegedly the trans community is not about the trans community, which is a very small, element of our populace. There is a much larger segment of our populace that has nothing to do with trans people that are sex offenders. The sex offender class in our country, the volume of sex offenders that exist, go watch To Catch a Predator. Look at, the sex offender registry in your area. That is a voluminous group of people. There are way more of those to worry about than trans people. And that's what flipped out. Yes, it was a budding predator who was taking advantage. He found a way in. And so that's, and again, this is not the fault of trans people or non-binary people. It has nothing to do with them. This is effectively, if you want to call it that, straight on straight crime in that regard. It is just, this is another version of a jimmied window. So, yeah, this is, this is the primary issue here. This more than CRT, and CRT definitely played a part in it. And you guys know my feeling about CRT. I think it's racist. I think it's racist towards black people. It has a horrifying bent on it. It denies the humanity across the board of every race. It's hideous. It is somewhere between like Ebonics and the demonization of everybody that's an other. It's hideous. It's ridiculous. We have talked about this. It only exists because they deny parts of history that don't play out in it, and they do exactly the same thing that the children of the Confederacy that I talked about do, where you just, because CRT sides with the Confederate view of things, and it is this close most of the time to asking for separate water fountains. It's fucked up. It's terrible. It's minor, and what most people want when they think about things is you try to soften something up is diversity training in areas where people don't grow up around people who are different than them, that teaches them how to behave neighborly around people that might be different in a modern society. That's what we do want. And that's what most of the time you have. Most of the time in schools, that's what you have. So you have just diversity training, which is, or in schools or in military and all this stuff. Everything that they're saying is CRT in most cases. Most of it is simply how to get along and not be an asshole. CRT is not about teaching the true history. It cherry picks just as much as the Confederates do. I swear to you. We even looked at it. When I put up the language of the Confederacy stuff that we talked about. Same thing. Yeah, critical race theory is a college-level philosophical take on legal theory, and it's most people when on the left who are thinking about what they would want in terms of critical race theory, when they hear that phrase or when they think the soft version of what it is, like 1619 Project, the not the deep reads of it, but just kind of the headlines of it, they think, well, it's good that people are aware that slavery happened, the transatlantic slave trade happened, and people understand that America's got a unique guilt in that area, and we got to deal with it over time, and that redlining was an issue, and yada yada yada. Like that's how most people think about it, and that's because most people are agreeable and decent, and so they want to solve those things. That's not what CRT is. Check out new desk scores if you want a complete, correct evaluation of CRT. Okay. Yes. So, yeah. The difference is that while it is taught at a college level, the college level education departments in a few areas, and the Virginia Department of Education taught a direct version of CRT and literally spoke of it in those terms, not like diversity training and stuff we're talking about, but literally CRT, to the administrators of the schools with the idea that they would teach a kid digestible version of it in Virginia. That's the other flip out. The rest of the country, this shit is not happening. But in Virginia it was, and this is where the ground came up. And so the idea that it's ridiculous and it's not even close to true is not true.
Absurd. And it's counter to their stated values, but it worked and they won the race. Then we had the gubernatorial race in New Jersey. Now, it was believed to be a very safe seat for the incumbent Democratic governor, Phil Murphy, in the blue state of New Jersey, where Joe Biden defeated.
And it's that's half and half right now. And this might be sprawl from de Blasio. This is state level stuff. If you want to know the difference between governor's races and mayor's races and federal races, watch cable news and then watch local news and look at the difference between the stories.
Donald Trump easily in 2022 by 16. Biden beat Trump by 16 in Jersey in 2020. And Phil Murphy did jump out to a big lead up front. But then as the night went on and we watched the results come in, the Republican challenger gained and eventually took a 2-point lead. Now, as more votes came in overnight, I just looked at it, and hopefully this is not outdated by the time you listen to today's show, but as of just 15 minutes ago, the race has not been called. And with 92% reporting, Phil Murphy is back in the lead, but by 0.06%. That's not 0.6%. It's 0.06%, about 1,300 votes, 8% of the ballots still to be counted. Now, if Democrats lose the New Jersey governorship, it's a disaster.
Okay, so that's good. So this is definitely a disaster. The other one was kind of a disaster, or maybe a gradations of disaster. But if we lose, if 6,000 people float one direction right now, Democrats won New Jersey, right? This is true. But we're dealing with this kind of storyline here. Yeah, the AP just called it. Recount this 287,000 times, right? It's not. Any more than right now, the Democrats won New Jersey by how many votes? Does anybody know? How much is the margin? They just called it. What's the margin? I got to wait for a second to catch up. Yeah, why don't we scream stolen election? Yes, you're right. 20,000. Right. 20,000 votes. So recount. This is stolen. We should have won it by a lot more. Right. Maybe called Murphy the winner. Right. So it was a disaster, but it's not a disaster. But it's a 20,000 vote margin, so maybe it is a disaster. Maybe it's a gradation of disaster. Maybe there's 3 tiers of disaster.
Even if Murphy wins, but by not even less than a point, less than a tenth of a point is what the margin is right now. It's a massive swing. In 2017, Phil Murphy won by 15 points in New Jersey. Then Biden won easily in 2020. And now Phil Murphy's trying to eke out a win by a tenth of a point as of 15 minutes ago. So no matter who wins, Republicans closed a massive gap in a very, very blue state. That also doesn't bode well. If you were of the mindset,
I do recognize that everywhere else, that margin is just a win, and it's fucking New Jersey.
Virginia doesn't.
Wasn't, if I may, need to look something up. See if I can do this without, because I can't pull up the other screen on there. See if I can find. Well, there's a. Can I just show you how the idea that a Democrat should own the state of New Jersey? It's very slow. I'm sorry. And that the fact that we didn't win New Jersey, by 5 points, is a nightmare. How many days? Yeah. Let me show you a nightmare, shall I? Here you go. There you go. How about that? There's New Jersey, kids. There you go. Chris Christie, ladies and gentlemen, was the governor of New Jersey for 8 years? Till he ran for president? During the time from, let's see, what was his, how long was his, I think he was 2010? Yeah. Chris Christie was governor of New Jersey from 2010. Hey, that's 2 years into Obama. It's almost as if. And he lost during Trump. It's almost as if. It's a fucking flipped state. It does the same thing Virginia does. For fuck's sake. 2 years into Obama, Chris Christie won New Jersey. Chris fucking Christie. He ran again and got trounced by Trump, and then still stayed governor. Was in 2018 at didn't lose after Obama. He was term limited out, right? So he got in at 2010 and he just had to leave at 2018. So, but again, this is the whole oh my God, panic. It's exactly how it happened. Chris Christie became governor of New Jersey in the midterm election after Obama got elected. In 2008, 2010, that midterm, that's when Chris Christie got elected. Oh, shit. This is a special election. And then he termed out in 2018, but it still flipped. It went to the Democrat. But please, please tell me to panic in a democracy.
Plus much by itself. Well, it's not by itself. Look at Virginia and New Jersey. And then what else? We're going to talk about more of the results on the bonus show today.
By the way, I appreciate you selling the bonus show, David. I don't do that myself. There's no bonus show. This is just the show. I don't hide anything behind a paywall. I just live off the kindness of strangers. Yes, folks, it's your super chats and your Patreons and your other stuff that makes this possible, and I love you for it. But can you just try? I like Pacman. I do. And I like Tom Hartman. I do. I find them excellent gentlemen. As human beings go, good people. But this whole panic button stuff that is the inside the Beltway boilerplate that is happening automatically is the same shit. Everybody's saying the same shit. And it's nonsense. Thank you, Diana. Appreciate it. I'm from Gloucester, New Jersey, and yes, it flips, she says. Thank you. Hold on, I gotta lose my. Thank you very much, Diana. New Jersey fucking hell. New Jersey and Virginia flip against the administration every time, with rare exception. I'm not going to panic because the leaf... Oh, my God. Guys, have you been outside? Oh, dear Jesus. It's October and all the green leaves are turning brown and red. The leaves are dying. The leaves are dying. Oh, God. I'm not going to flip the fuck out because the leaves turn brown in the fall. And I'm not going to flip the fuck out because we lost Virginia and retained, by the way. Oh, by the way, in a year when it normally flips, we still have New Jersey. It's the opposite story of Terry McAuliffe in Virginia. He won when Trump was in office, which went against the grain. So Murphy won against the grain in New Jersey. The problem I have is this panic stuff, while it sells, it works. It's clickbait. I fucking get it. It's demoralizing, and it's also bullshit. And it hands into the right. Oh, God. Oh, dear God. Oh, dear God. Everything is collapsing. Oh, my fear. My death and my fear. Pure statistics show that states usually flip back and forth. Yes, but these wins will only further energize Trump and company. Yeah, because they're going to use it. They do that every time. That doesn't mean it's true, and it certainly doesn't mean you have to fall into it. Right? Just because they're going to weaponize this. By the way, this always happens, and the other side always weaponizes it. They uses it as a motivator. Either, we got momentum going into next year, or, oh shit, they're coming for us. You voters better get out. That's actually horrifying. Both Democratic governors were excellent and were doing a good job for people. Why do people swing like pendulums there? Because they think they're balancing against the greater narrative of the federal government. Because there are people who believe that your local governor or your mayor in the bigger cities should be a bulwark against a total political tide. This is what I would call the independent swing. This is the radical centrist version of independence. These people will always vote against the federal voter, the federal trend, beg your pardon. When the federal trend happens, there's a bunch of voters who just go, all right, well, shit, all right, it went that way. So you're going to need to tap the brakes. We got to tap the brakes on them. But you like what they did. Yeah, but I don't want them to get carried away. The leaves falling teach us what? That's a lovely thought. Hold on. David needs a Magnum PI fake mustache. That peach fuzz on his upper lip looks like a smudge. I agree. He's got to darken it. He does. And he looks nearly as tired as I do. I think both of us have been driving a lot. Do I like Farron Cousins? I don't know that I know Farron Cousins. 776 people in the chat. Right on. Zing. His chat asked him to grow it. Well, that's fine. That's good. My chat has asked me to do a lot of things I'm not going to do. Rigged.
The results very much expected. Democrat Eric Adams won New York City mayor. Left-leaning candidate Michelle Wu won Boston mayor. Mm-hmm. And then, not surprisingly, self-described socialist India Walton did not win the Buffalo mayorship. Lost by a lot, by 17 points to a write-in candidate. I know that many progressives were very interested in that race. It is not super shocking to me that a self-described socialist did not get elected mayor of Buffalo, New York.
Especially when all of the self-described socialists that are running don't know what the fuck socialism is. Don't know how to defend it, and don't even know if they'd want it if they could. They think socialism is, we have Social Security. That's lovely. Social programs for people who are... That's not what it means. And if you run on a socialist thing, you're always going to fucking lose. Always. Every goddamn time. It's ridiculous. Just because socialism and Marxism have become a vernacular of the left does not mean it changes materially what they mean on a psychopolitical level. It's so stupid. And there's no such thing as a democratic socialist. You're only democratic socialist until you can get rid of the democratic part. If you're democratic socialist, you're not socialist. It doesn't work that way. It's not how socialism is run. Ask the Chinese people right now.
Joe Biden won Buffalo easily.
Yes, and he, insofar as I know, did not run as a socialist who doesn't know what the fuck socialism is.
But Democratic voters are not necessarily socialist voters. And that's
Really?
shocking there. And we'll look.
It's shocking? Why is it shocking? It's not shocking at all. Socialism is anti-democratic. It has to be run administerially. You cannot have socialism where everyone has a say. That's not what you're talking about. That isn't how it works. Never, ever. I know people like the word socialism. Go look up what it actually is. Democratic socialism is a made-up phrase. It's silly. And what they're talking about, as I've said many times, is simple, functional use of representational taxation. That's it. The MSM are blaming progressives for the outcome in VA. Well, in terms of CRT and the LGBT stuff, that's what they're talking about. That's what they're using, what we discussed earlier, and why it didn't land there as well. It's not that kind of state. Is David a citizen yet? Why, is he Canadian? He seems very nice. He's got a very Canadian kind of look about him. And I mean that as someone who, lived in Canada for 6 years doing Queer as Folk and would consider myself, Canadian by injection. Any thoughts on what Adam Kinzinger is going to do, run against Pritzker for Illinois governor? I think so. I think he's planning on running for governor and then running for president. Yes. People disagree with me all the time on socialism. It doesn't matter. It's not going to land. I swear to you. And the stuff that you want doesn't ever have to be anything remotely close to what would qualify as socialism. Universal pre-K isn't socialism. Free community college isn't socialism. Paying people's student debt off isn't socialism. It isn't. It is not. AOC said she's a democratic socialist now. She seems to use progressive Dem. That's because there's no such thing as democratic socialism. It's not a thing. Even the democratic socialists on their website and in their organizations, and I've asked these folks, can't describe what their actual functioning governing difference is or why it is socialism. And if they do get into it, anybody who actually starts talking about it in terms of socialism, they either are mistaken and are talking about things that are not socialism, or they admit they have to go way further into, eventually we're going to have to get rid of democracy to do it. Bernie's not a socialist either. Bernie is another socialist with 3 houses. He's not a democratic socialist. He uses it as a buzzword. Sanders does not qualify. Sanders is a capitalist who believes in more social programs. It's not the same thing. I love you guys, but it isn't. And it's okay. A Sparksist Democrat, that's the way to go. Be neighborly. A Motangist, yes.
Some of the other results on the bonus show today. Now, I do think it's important to restate that in a lot of ways, this was a turnout victory for Republicans. There were anecdotally Republicans saying,
Excuse me, I would like to say it is a turnout disaster for Democrats. We have to keep honestly.
Democratic friends are voting for Republicans this time around in Jersey, in Virginia, in some other races. And anecdotally, there are always examples of everything. Some Republicans who vote Democrat, Democrats who vote Republican, etc. But really, it was using fear and anger.
Capitalism with a strong social safety net is not socialism. Exactly. That's what we're talking about. Bernie Sanders is a capitalist who believes in a strong social safety net for the nation, for the country. I'm not wrong about socialism. I'm not. Get used to the idea. It's okay. You don't have to agree with me, but go check it out.
Get turnout. For example, Terry McAuliffe actually outperformed Joe Biden among some groups. Sahil Kapoor.
Yeah, not the groups that there are more of.
From NBC News pointed this out in a tweet and said, among white women college graduates, Biden got 58% of that group in 2020, whereas Terry McAuliffe got 62% of that group in 2020.
Yeah, and those are not the women with kids, by and large, in Virginia. And if they do have kids, they're grown kids. The vast majority of women who have children in public school in Virginia are indeed white women, non-college educated. They are homemakers, or they work in a place where they don't have a degree. They bust tables, or they work in an office, or something like that, but they don't have a college degree to do it. They work in a store, they work at Target or Walmart. That's a huge number. That percentage doesn't tell you shit.
McAuliffe built the lead that Joe Biden had among white women with college degrees. But it just wasn't enough because other groups did not turn out in the numbers that Terry McAuliffe needed. So non-college educated white women voted for Youngkin by an even bigger margin than they voted for Donald Trump.
Now the question is, how many of those people, remember how we always talk about if somebody just gives you the percentage without giving you the mean number, they're only telling you half the story and they're doing it on purpose.
What we had was an exaggeration of the 2020 results with the turnout favoring Republicans. Now, does that mean 2022 looks less bad? Not really. This could point to a very bad 2022 because midterms are often turnout elections. So Democrats need to, number one, do some stuff. Now, but that sounds silly. They need to get some things done that they can point to. And
you mean the infrastructure bill? The reconciliation bill will not help them with voters in Virginia. It will be a wash. The infrastructure bill will stomp a mud hole in Republicans and march it dry.
Hey, look at these things that we actually did. You've got to do some things, and we're going to talk about spending an infrastructure bill a little bit later. But saying that Terry McAuliffe simply ran a bad campaign is myopic. New Jersey shouldn't be this close. Pennsylvania Supreme.
Technically speaking, traditionally, New Jersey shouldn't not only be this close, he should have lost. Statistically speaking, Murphy should have lost. Close or not. It should have been, it normally swings the other direction about 6 points, and it didn't.
Won by Republicans.
Why are we watching Davey? We're watching Davey, Vina, more out of about the message. And again, this is not a bone to pick I have with David. Like, he does a lot of clickbait titles, let's be honest. But he and Tom Hartman and a few others are going through this. I can't do all of them, and he just seems to be a good example. And the title of his video was what set off what I was talking about, which is this business right here. This is why I chose to look at that. Right? See? This is very much, yes, Murphy won. Murphy should have lost statistically. There should have been a 6-point swing the other direction. There should have been a Chris Christie-like win in New Jersey statistically, but it didn't. The Democrat won by a little, but since it was normally goes the other way, that should be an extraordinary win, but it isn't. Why are we not watching Gorka? We will.
Democrats don't want to accept this as a wake-up call publicly to save face. Okay, I mean, there's debate. Do you ever really admit that it was a disaster for you? Maybe you don't.
You won't even admit it's a disaster, David. You've said it 3 times. It could be a disaster. Some people will tell you, no, it's not a disaster. Other people say it's it's a marginal disaster.
But privately, Democrats had better see this as a wake-up call. And it's almost more difficult without Trump on the ballot, as I've said before. It's harder to say, even though we haven't done much, vote for us anyway, when Trump's not there.
Which is basically David calling out the progressives caucus without calling them out. That it's clear that his opinion is that if they'd have passed the infrastructure bill, McAuliffe could have run on that. Democrats wouldn't look like they're the gang that can't shoot straight right now, and that's what it is. That's the. If you're going to talk about what you could overtly and covertly say, this is a covert way of saying that.
Trump. When it's overtly a referendum on Trump, the "we aren't Trump" message makes more sense because Trump is such a train wreck. Even if you don't have that much that you've done to point to, you're not Trump. You're not crazy in that way. When there's no Trump, it's, well, we're better than these other Republicans who also aren't Trump. It's weak in terms of messaging, It's weak in terms of framing. And there's a very good article in The Atlantic this morning by Elaine Godfrey and Russell Berman called "If Democrats Can Lose Virginia, They Can Lose Almost Anywhere."
Bullshit.
Which points out that
I'm sure it points out that Virginia flips against whoever's in the White House almost every time.
Youngkin neither repudiated nor embraced Trump. He really didn't do either. He actually kind of played coy with Trump, and we talked about this.
He had to for the people, which is the same thing as stiff-arming him.
All along. And Republicans ended up winning that race. Now, let me now, after everything I've said about how disastrous this could be.
Don't you dare. David, don't you dare. This is a disaster. You sold us as a disaster. The thumbnail and the title tells us panic is rising. And if you try to let me off the hook right now and make me feel better, I'm going to be very disappointed.
Let me just present to you the least disastrous interpretation.
How dare you? You, David Pakman, you bastard. The least disastrous. The fuck is the matter with you? I clicked on panic. Do you not understand that I don't watch YouTube videos for information? I do them to reassert the emotion I already have.
Just so you know that there is one, and it would be
there is none. We're doomed.
Following. It's really common that in Virginia, the governorship goes to the opposition party when there's a new president.
Yes. You said that. We know that. The Atlantic article didn't mention that.
When Carter won in the next election.
Yes, bring me my fainting couch. Pearl clutch. Somebody, is there a pearl clutch emoji? We need a pearl clutch emoji, I think.
Virginia.
Everybody throw a couch emoji in the chat room. The VA is a flippy state. Looks like I live in North Carolina. We voted for Trump and have a Dem governor. Exactly.
Gubernatorial went to Republicans.
Yes, Mary, it says, thank you, Hal, for warning us about this a week ago. I told you. Exactly. I adore you guys. Please don't let anybody hook you into fear and panic.
When Reagan won, it then went to Democrats. When Bush Sr. won, it then went to Democrats. When
you're going to save this to the end of the video? If you end this with an ad.
Won, it switched to Republicans.
Yes, thank you for putting the fainting couches in the chat room. I feel so much better.
When George W. Bush won, it switched.
I happen to think that's beautiful, guys. The fainting couches are fantastic. That has to be a thing now. Oh, good Lord, I love that.
Democrats. When Obama won, switched to Republicans, and now.
Dude, where's my couch? How dare you?
And same with Trump switched to Democrats, and now we have Biden wins and it switches to Republicans. So if you want to point to that and say that's how Virginia works,
that's exactly what I'm fucking saying.
It's not really a big concern. You can find a justification.
Yes, I have. You know what that justification is? History and the human brain.
In the history to make that claim. But with the New Jersey numbers, not look.
No. New Jersey was a flip state as well. The same thing happened there. It's a flippy state. It most of the time flips. The only reason is they have term limits, so they bunt people out. That's the only thing that throws a monkey wrench in the statistics of Virginia, is the fact that they have term limits. Sorry, not Virginia, New Jersey.
Good. And with some of these other things not looking good, I certainly wouldn't be taking that chance. And it's a completely...
No one is taking a chance. No one is going, well, we can fucking coast from here. I mean, Virginia always flips. You have to... Everybody's working on their fucking message. What a terrible thing to say about Democrats who are working their ass off trying to get a deal on this infrastructure bill that everybody's fucking pearl clutching. You can't find the couch? I'm sorry, Grace. Someone find the couch for Grace, wherever it is on the thing. I can't do it from my keyboard.
Plausible scenario. Can't yet say likely. A lot of things need to happen. We've got a year until the 2020.
Yes, but a year of disaster. remember, I know some of you think that this weekend's going to be kind of fun. I'm sorry, no. The disaster starts today, and it does not end until Armageddon next year, which is already, we're already losing. We're going to lose. It's losey-lose because we lost in a place that we normally lose, and that's just proof that we're going to lose even in places we don't deserve to lose.
Which I think are really going to get going in late February, early March. It could be an absolute bloodbath for Democrats.
And by the way, absolute bloodbath means 14 seats flip.
2022. If Biden then does not run for re-election, which is plausible.
What the fuck? What? What do you mean not run for re-election? He's been in office for 9 months.
And then you've got, like a not super popular Kamala Harris as the nominee. There could be a scenario, and I always want to balance being realistic, but not being alarmist, but not.
But yeah, realistic. We've already understood that realism is boring and doesn't draw attention and people don't show up.
Downplaying things. We could have a scenario where 2022 is a disaster for Democrats. 2024 is a disaster for Democrats.
Yes, and 2026 is a disaster for Democrats. And then by 2028, Xi Jinping is president of the United States.
You end up with Democrats trying to take control back of something in 2026 after Republicans have gotten a lot of opportunity to do some serious damage to this country, damage that will take, to 2030 to start undoing. I mean, it's a grim and dark potential.
Yes, but stay tuned for the grim and dark future. What the fuck? 2026? What? I don't want to be alarmist, but it's really the only way I can get you assholes to click these videos. Come on.
Path. And that's why it's important to see every single one of these elections in context. So
yes, see them in context. You know what the context is, David? God bless you. But for fuck's sake, man, here's the context. Virginia always flips against the current administration. New Jersey often does, and the only time it doesn't is when somebody's termed out. These aren't fucking bellwethers. They are not. And also, Terry McAuliffe and Murphy are not these are the banner carriers. These are the guys we were teeing up. Who's going to run in 2028 if McAuliffe, our lightning rod, gets kicked out of Virginia? Get fucked with this nonsense. Ugh. Seriously. This is just, good Lord, man. What are you talking about? Are you just trying to neuter every Democrat? What in the world?
Your thoughts, let me know your interpretation. We're going to have...
Yes, that's my interpretation. David, I'm sure you're going to see this later. Knock it off. Stop it. You are part of the problem when you do this bullshit. This is a sales pitch. And I tell this to Tom Hartman too. I watched his show this morning as much as I could because I had, business shit to do. Same nonsense. No, 100 times no. Jesus Christ. I can't imagine what TYT looks like. Fucking hell. Do not panic. Stay motivated. Cheer the fuck up. We have the White House, the Senate, and the House at least until next year. You guys gonna pack your shit up and go maybe we'll have a chance at scraping something back together in 2030. Jesus Christ, dude's the Greta Thunberg of Democratic politics.
More on some of the minor races on today's bonus show, which you can get access to by becoming a member at joinpacman.com. And you can...
I don't even know how this shit works. I know I'm new to the whole live streaming as a thing. But like he does this, Steven Crowder does this, TYT does this. There's a bunch of these sites that have these like kind of membership things on their own site to watch separate videos and stuff. Like it's what a bunch of fucking work. That's a lot. Just do your show. Shit. And maybe, and you know, here's the thing. I'm totally wrong about this because he makes way more money doing this than I do. So does Crowder. So does TYT. They stack cash. They're making fat stacks doing this stuff. And I know I haven't been doing it that long, like I said. They've been doing it for years. And eventually I've there's something there. But yeah, that's my commercial, right? Sell. Right. But yeah, it just feels like a hook. It feels like this title is a hook in your fucking mouth. And then to end it with, it always flips, and this could be terrible, if it keeps happening.
On Twitter at dpacman and let me know your interpretation, your analysis of yesterday's election result.
I will. Tell you what, David, I will send you a link to this. Hi, David. How you doing? Normally like your show a lot. This is a bunch of shit, man. Stop it. You're not helping. It's not even that it's not good programming. It's antithetical to the mission of trying to get any of the programs you care about through.
One of our sponsors
is steak knives? These knives? These are knives. Oh, dear God. David Pakman is selling knives. This can't be good. You can't depress the shit out of people, David, and then sell them knives. It doesn't make any sense. Okay. I've still got time. Okay. There's a bunch of stuff. Let me do one thing real quick. Hold on. Bum. I need to pull something up real quick. If I may. Yeah, the fainting sofa was just not a thing. This is important. It's, I care about, because I do messaging for a living. And as a comedian, I'm always thinking of ways to shape the language of what I'm doing, to make it funnier, to make it more enjoyable, to make it clearer, to make it, let's see. Hold on. Yeah, here we go. I need to pull this up. What the hell? It's on a separate, it's Rumble. Okay, it just takes a minute. And when I watch folks talk like this, I gotta say I recognize how demoralizing it can be, because I don't care. That shit doesn't affect me. I make my own decisions about what stuff means to me, and then I react to it emotionally based on the decision I've made. And I'm aware of this. Everybody does it, but I try to be very aware of the fact that you make a decision about something before you feel something about something. And when I see people intentionally, emotionally manipulating people because they, on the one hand, they know they can profit from it, that's one thing. But the other side of it is that they feel like it's their job. Like, I've got to scare these people or they won't do anything. I must use their fear. And then to complain about Republicans saying that that's how they motivate voters, but we don't do that, when that's exactly what that shit is. All right, so as a special request, if I may, because we have so much stuff, Sebastian Gorka. All right, the Wall Street Journal is owned by Rupert Murdoch, just like Fox News. And there's going to be an ad at the top of this. Nope. America, Sebastian Gorka! America! Fuck yes! By the way, the America First movement is a bunch of poser bullshit that is based on like a bunch of false machismo. It does not mean that America is a priority for them. The only thing, when Trump says America first and when Sebastian Gorka says America first, what he means is it's the first bargaining chip on the table. You want to make some money? You want to make me some money? Can I make some money? If I can make some money, then that'll be the first thing I throw on the table. By the way, what's happening here? Why do you think this music helps? Does it make you sound like, this gives me dignity, this makes me sound like someone that's very important?
On the side of the U.S. Constitution, America first.
I think it may be.
Really? No, you couldn't layer that over the music? You couldn't go on Fiverr? Pull it, Lord Conrad Black. Jesus Christ. What a fucked up mugshot. Did the power go out in the station that night?
Election day in the Commonwealth and in New Jersey, but we're going to launch a separate campaign here today live on America First, and it's the Buy American America First campaign. Why? Because everything we sell at our store.
Oh, I see. You're just selling your stuff. I thought you were going to support the fact that Joe Biden actually, gave teeth to the Buy American rules for the federal government, which of course Trump put a bunch of loopholes in for his buddies.
America First is made in America. Yes, if you go to sebgorkastore.com, the America First
The fuck it is. It's not, that shit isn't made in America. They slapped a label on it here. It's printed in America. I know that company. I've looked into a bunch of merch companies. Bullshit. No fucking way. These were screen printed in America. That's not made in America. You lying prick.
Mugs, the t-shirts, the tumblers, the incredible hoodies, even the yard signs. Yes, we have the Let's Go brand in yard signs.
Yeah, because you're too much of a coward to say what you mean. And by the way, Let's Go Brandon, for those of you that don't know, is how anti-Trumpers say Let's Go Biden when there are Trumpers around, because they don't want to get shot or beat up because Trump's fans are lunatics.
Everything is made in America. Make the promise today, this Christmas season, this Thanksgiving.
Yeah, give somebody a Let's Go Brandon shirt for Christmas. First of all, it's Jesus' birthday, so nothing says, Jesus' birthday by being an anti-American prick for no particular reason. But also, it's not like this will, it's still going to be hot. You know what I mean? Like, Let's Go Brandon will still be a thing.
Season, you're going to turn.
Jesus Christ. Look at that cutout. American like mug companies that actually print on them and make the cups themselves would take more care than that. This is just it's a bunch of drop shipping bullshit.
Belief and only Buy American. Do it today. Check out the amazing line of goods that
Yeah, amazing. I mean, like, where'd you get access, Gorka, to the pic that Fox News uses all the time? Like, and by the way, is that the mug you use the most? I'm a MAGA gal.
He has organized for us, made to order here in the United States.
Yes, this makes sense. Sippy cups. That's it. That you need that, because yeah. I think grown men like yourself, sometimes you don't want to spurp on your MAGA tie. So yeah, a sippy cup for grown human beings. Yes, that's right. Donald Trump sippy cups. Mm-hmm.
Gorka Store.
Remind me later to talk about Sean Hannity calling Biden President sippy cup.
That's SEB.
Oh, and he's still selling these shit single tone screen printed stuff.
Gorka, sebgorkastore.com. Buy American. We are back with Lord Conrad Black, the author of A President Like No Other, Donald J. Trump and the Restoring of America, and so many other things.
Yes, he's the author of so many other things, including shit tweets and blather.
Read his writings at the Epoch Times, and especially at
the Epoch Times? That's where he writes now?
Greatness, amgreatness.com. Lord Black, I
amgreatness.com. How do we say American greatness in a good Twitter handle? That doesn't sound like I'm talking about me.
thank you personally for what you wrote at American Greatness in response to this. This headline calls it shabby. I would use stronger invective. This editorial
No, you wouldn't. Invective?
board piece from the Wall Street Journal that just dismissed, found risible any questioning of the results of the last election.
Yeah, they have a problem. There's apparently a bunch of people at the Wall Street Journal that can read.
You used the word suppress in your article, and I...
Yeah, but that's because he's working for the Epic Times. Yeah. And and the only people who will talk to him are people like you. And of course he's a Trump fart sniffer. He has to say suppress.
It's right.
Or he doesn't get to, or he has to actually pay for his golf cart rental at Mar-a-Lago.
Can you explain to our millions of listeners why on
What the fuck is wrong with you?
earth would this bastion of free market principles and all, alleged conservatism wish to suppress even the question of election fraud in 2020?
They didn't, actually. It's 2021 this year, and they've heard all of it, and it's horseshit, and they're like, can we fucking get on with it?
This is, to me, one of the very greatest mysteries.
No, the greatest mystery is why you're calling on a fucking hamburger phone.
Arising from that very contentious and questionable election.
No. And by the way, we're not calling you Lord Conrad Black. This is fucking America. I'm calling you Connie from now on.
And I speak as someone who has great respect for the Wall Street Journal. I think it is arguably the best newspaper in the world.
And I have to say that because if I ever want to work for a real newspaper again, it's probably only going to be the ones owned by Rupert Murdoch. I can probably get a job if I beg and plead at Sky News Australia.
Comment pages are the best in the English or French
I know, I have a hamburger phone. You're absolutely right, MLE Angel.
speaking world. I don't speak any other languages.
Hi, Joe Carter.
And I have a very high regard for the proprietor, the ultimate proprietor, Rupert Murdoch. And
Wake me up when the ass kissing is over.
For Paul Gigot, the comment editor, it's just a first-class operation. And the editor...
Yeah, it's first class, except in that old part where they call bullshit on Trump's obvious lies about election fraud.
Board members whom I know are also very distinguished people, like Kim Strassel and Dorothy Rabinovich and others. It's not as if I'm in the habit of criticizing the Wall Street Journal.
No, you'd never get in the habit of that. It's owned by Rupert Murdoch. They own Fox News. If you want a real gig, you can't do that. But I'm just so upset. I'm torn between two lovers. Branded a fool.
I think it's a great newspaper. But here, I think they have joined hands in...
To get Neil's saying, to get a cup printed, it's like $150 per cup, plus the cup is $2, so they sell the cup for $10. They're ripping you off. Yes, $5 minimum charge, you still make a nice profit. Just saying, never buy anything online, too expensive. I appreciate that, Neil. By the way, I have merch available in the links below. And I will say the Twitch merch, the Streamlabs merch, is the best quality stuff I've seen. I'm just saying. Especially they actually have embroidered hats. I made some. There's a Zoltan one, and I think there's a 5 Eggs one. It's cool. Nobody else offers embroidered based stuff. It's a little more expensive, but I mean, cut me some slack. It's a limited thing, special.
Movement that is almost universal in the national political media to deny that there's any question hanging over the 2020 election.
There is no question hanging over the 2020 election. We've been over it and over it and over it, and we're all fucking over it. There is no question. We've been through this bullshit. Everywhere they look, they find more Biden votes. Get fucked, Connie.
And this is simply not a sustainable view. Now, I've got to say that, unfortunately, the former president made it easy for his critics
by being a dumbass.
By warning about the dangers of ballot harvesting and not being ready to deal with it. He had no forces on the ground to take film of it as it occurred.
Yes, because no one has phones. And even in areas where there were 9 Biden voters, there wasn't like one person around. And you know how hard it is in this society to film shit that's going on. Everyone can tell. This is why there's no fucking voter fraud. This is why. This thing right here. This is why there's none. You could pretend to be playing a fucking video game and film everything. Show me a picture of Hunter Biden's laptop, Rudy. A picture. A single a still fucking picture. Where is it? Everybody's got like pictures of their lunch 9 ways a Sunday. And nobody's got any fucking footage of this bullshit? I'll sign an affidavit. I believed I saw that taco truck had ballots in. I swear, I think that's what I saw. I swear, I will swear under oath that I think that I believe that I saw something. I believed I saw it. Well, you didn't. Oh, okay. Well, I thought I did. Shit.
Shabby things occurred. He didn't have adequate scrutiny.
And yes, the chat room is on fire. We don't need no water. Let this motherfucker burn.
Years around to see what was happening with drop boxes in the middle of the night and that kind of thing. And then he
Yeah, it's funny how those drop boxes sat out there and ballots ended up in them, and those ballots checked against the very people that put them in there. Here's a good idea. Allow them to put mail on, use the mail slot on any state office. How about that?
Ran, in my opinion,
yes, I swear I believe I saw something, but said nothing while witnessing crimes. Right, it's exactly right, Kim. The number of these dickheads who say this shit is hilarious. Where's the footage? Please fucking, there were phones all over the fucking place.
Started late and had insufficient legal forces to contest it properly.
That's no way to talk about Linwood and Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell. Insufficient. I beg your pardon. Brutally incompetent is the phrase they prefer.
And he allowed his opponents to focus on attempts by Rudolph Giuliani, for example, to claim because one person was mistreated in the handling of his ballot in Pennsylvania, the entire result should be thrown out, and things like that just weren't feasible.
Yeah, because that one person he's talking about, which was 2 people, by the way. I mean, hey, who knows? I mean, it's just details. 2 people, both Republican voters in a Republican county that went to Donald Trump, soundly went to Donald Trump, mailed in their vote, and their votes weren't counted. And in Philadelphia, when some people mailed in their votes and there was worried about because it was because of their signature. If it was worried about the signature, they would call the voter and go, hey, did you vote? Yes, I did. Is this just saying you want to come down and check this out? I do, as a matter of fact, to make sure you got it. Okay. Is that your signature? Is that how you voted? Yes, it is. Okay, cool. We'll put it in the thing. And these 2 assholes wanted Rudy Giuliani to sue the state of Pennsylvania because a Republican in a Republican county was throwing out mail-in votes hand over fist because they knew the majority of them were Democrats. They happened to catch a couple of Republicans in there tossing shit out because they didn't know who you voted for. They just know you mailed your vote in. And because these assholes mailed their vote in, they were in a Republican county, their votes didn't count. And what remedy did they want? Did they want a remedy that their votes be added to the toll? No. They wanted everybody's vote who was cured in Philadelphia to be fucking thrown out. Hundreds of thousands of votes. Because a Republican in their county that they voted for threw their vote out, they want everybody else's vote thrown out in Philadelphia. for America.
The fact is, there were 18 cases challenging the constitutional legality of elections in the 6 states that were contested. The election was completely without issue in 44 states, but in the 6 states, Georgia, Nevada.
Excuse me, Mike Lindell would like to have a word with you. All the states were hacked by China. There's panda shit everywhere. Check your shit.
Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Arizona.
Yes, this guy was pardoned by Trump for committing fraud, yes, in 2007. Thank you, Grumpy Cat, for bringing that up. I appreciate it.
Were questions. There were real questions.
And thank you, Robert.
18 lawsuits, plus the Texas Attorney General's lawsuit supported by 18 other states.
Which, interestingly enough, wasn't about his own fucking state. When the primary accuser in Mike Lindell's first special said that Austin, and specifically Texas as a state, was the seat of all election fraud in the country and was the worst, and that the votes from Texas went to Spain before they were counted.
And the courts did not judge the merits of any of those cases. Not
because you don't have standing, fuck off. You can't have groups of states, whether through the federal government or on their own, ganging up on other states just because they don't like how the vote went. Here's how you could solve that problem. A federalized standard for votes. Oh, wait, you don't want that? Oh, well, then kiss my ass then.
One of them, the judiciary abdicated from local courts in those 6 states up to the Supreme Court. They all abdicated. They wouldn't touch the issue. And
no, they just wouldn't touch the methodology of the case because it would fuck with our entire legal system.
National political media have joined hands in a kind of solemn solidarity that they simply...
Solemn solidarity. Solidarity, this is solidarity.
We cannot accept the thought that there was an improper tainted election. Now, when you have 40 million votes that are in fact cast by people who weren't the voters.
Bullshit.
Harvested, dropped, or otherwise indirectly cast ballots.
By the way, if indeed there are 40,000 votes, for the record, that were improperly cast or stolen or taken from someone else, those were all Trump votes. Prove me wrong. All 40,000, let's agree, Connie Black, that if you find any votes, any ballots that are suspect, those are all Trump votes. He was in charge. He could have changed things. He obviously had control over all 50 states. We were in lockdown. He was the president of the United States. I call bullshit.
And only 53,000 or so votes in Pennsylvania and any 2 of Wisconsin, Arizona, and Georgia. 53,000 out of, 160 million would have flipped the vote, flipped the election in the Electoral College. You can't just sit there and say there's no question about this.
Well, no, I will say that not only would they not have flipped the election, and the idea that they could is fucked up to begin with, because you're talking about the Electoral College as opposed to the popular vote, which, but also all of those votes that you're talking about, all those fraudulent votes, the assumption that they are for Biden is bullshit, does not bear out. And every single time they've looked, they've found more Democratic votes. And New York Times reporting Murphy won re-election. Thanks, James. Yes, officially that is the case. But don't let that, by the way, now I understand that normally New Jersey goes the opposite of, just like Virginia does, goes the opposite of the current administration. That happens a lot. It happened under Obama. But it didn't this time. It stayed with the Democrat. But I don't want you to feel like you can't panic, folks. Please continue to panic. Worry as much as possible. Just be worried. Because it's your natural state. Don't we all default to nail biting and fainting couches? Big, massive dumps. That's right. Hold on, sorry.
There are questions about it, and the judiciary didn't address any of them. And I don't know what has possessed the Wall Street Journal to fall.
I'll tell you what possessed the Wall Street Journal. You want to know? You want to know what possessed the Wall Street Journal, Connie? Math. You dimwit.
with the Trump-hating media on this. I mean, we understand why MSNBC and CNN say it was a pristine election, because they're simply...
Well, they didn't say it was pristine. There's obviously clearly moments of fraud, especially like that dude who murdered his wife and voted for Trump in her stead while pretending that she was just missing and he couldn't wait to see her again, but he'd fucking killed her and took her vote and voted for Trump. There are those moments. I wouldn't call that pristine, but all those fuckers seem to have voted for Trump. Huh.
Unpaid or paid agents of the Democratic Party anyway, and they're Trump haters, who can't utter his name without flames coming out of their nostrils. But we expect...
I guess I don't qualify in that. I will sometimes admit that when Trump is mentioned at certain times, snot can come out of my nose because I am laughing so hard at how pathetic he is. He's a pitiful piece of shit, and he's hilarious and broken and becoming increasingly more silly every day. And I'm for it. COVID brain is real.
Better from the Wall Street Journal, and almost always we get better from the Journal. So I don't understand it.
Everybody needs to read this piece. It's one of the best.
Yeah, get your hard copy of the Epic Times.
On the Wall Street Journal I've ever read. It's called The Wall Street Journal's Shabby Rebuttal of Trump Settles Nothing. We're
shabby.
Posting it now on our Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah, exactly, Susan. Name one fraudulent vote for Biden. Yeah, we're all waiting.
You have a sentence in here exactly to this point. You say, the election result cannot now be altered. The Supreme Court ducked the Texas case to avoid the immense controversy an overturned election would cause. There are consequences for decisions like that every single day.
Well, yes, it is true that if the Supreme Court had looked into this thing and allowed this to move forward, the ensuing investigation would have recognized that there was massive Republican voter fraud across the states, because that's largely where it's being found, and that those votes were for Trump, and he would have lost by hundreds of thousands, if not 1 million more votes, which would, of course, caused you guys to self-immolate. And so in the name of just getting on with it, we decided not to.
So we have callers who say, well, that's it.
This piece was written by Ken Shabby. Oh, sorry there. Governor, I gobbed on your carpet.
My vote means...
Yeah, I know who Ken Shabby is.
Nothing. They'll just steal it again. What are the broader historic ramifications for this unwillingness to even look at the matter judicially, Lord Black?
Yeah, it's almost as if they have to honor the Constitution and the rule of law, even though it's Trump. What the fuck is that?
I think it was a special case that doesn't make a precedent that will be followed. I'm not a mind reader, except for to a slight degree.
I knew he was going to say that, by the way.
Stephen Breyer. I don't know any of the justices of the Supreme Court personally.
Did the pillow guy give up? Oh, fuck no, Rogers Green. Mike Pillow has a special coming up the weekend during Thanksgiving week. Oh, yeah. Huge.
So I have no standing to be a psychoanalyst of them or of that court as a group. But it seems that they chose not to touch that issue because the whole idea...
Because using the federal bench to bully some states using the power of other states that are larger in population or money seems antithetical to the Charter of the United States of America and would be anti-democratic, you dizzy fuck.
The old concept of the third rail, the whole idea of overturning an election result would just lead to such an immense controversy that it would not be a sure thing, that ultimately the Supreme Court wouldn't be tampered with and its membership augmented in a partisan way.
Oh, yeah. So if they looked into it, this is the storyline, by the way. The right wing's been doing this, so has Trump. That the idea is that Democrats threatened the Supreme Court with, if you go after this, we're going to front load you guys and put 23 more people on the bench. Like that could happen acutely in less than a couple of years. Like the process would be completely fucked. And the idea that it would just pass through and they would just manage to pass it via reconciliation or something without a filibuster or what have you is just ridiculous. It's an absurdity. Even adding seats is a total uphill battle that would take years and years and years. But they're avoiding looking into this because if they looked into this, then we would threaten them with something that would happen 13 years from now that apparently, according to them, is being done by people who stole the election. You do realize that if they looked into it and there was something there and it was genuine and it actually had happened, the Democrats would never have the ability to add seats because they'd all be in fucking jail in this fantasy in your head.
I mean, it couldn't be done right away if Trump was the president, but the Democrats would never forget that.
Well, excuse me. He never conceded. He's still president. Okay.
And I think they made the political decision not to touch it. I don't think that's what they're there for. I think they're there to render justice, not make political decisions. But in straight political terms, they probably made the right decision. And all this talk we heard about, packing the court and all that's all gone away. And the Supreme Court is.
Well, no, they started a commission on whether or not they should add seats to the court because it should be equal to the number of circuits, for example. And that committee is still working. That'll take time. Like I said, this is not an acute solution to the Supreme Court issue. It won't be. It would take years. So the idea that they were threatened by this in a year when they could have overturned the election within 6 months and handed the keys to the presidency to the other party and undid this whole thing is just fucking nonsense.
Bringing down, as far as I can see, independent-minded and rigorous strict constructionist decision.
However, that decision last year was clearly political. Any of the works by this man are worth your time. Start with A Matter of Principle. Follow him at Conrad M. Black. This is America First.
No, it isn't. And dude, do you trigger your own fucking camera shit with your phone? What was that nonsense?
Freedom is not free.
No, you've got to buy our shit mugs.
Veteran-owned and veteran-operated Midas Gold Group understands that principle.
Buy some gold and dig a fucking trench under your house because America is fucked, ladies and gentlemen. It is. We're on our way into the most horrifying version of events. Okay, next up, I had to do a Gorka by request, and it was worth every moment. Trump was on Bongino. And I think does he call in? Yeah. And the funny thing is, look at this. So he's on Bongino, this Bongino, and then wide-ranging interview, and then all of a sudden Bongino's wearing something else. He's wearing a suit for the phone call. Look at this. Here's the show before, and then there's Trump calls in. He gets dressed up for an interview that Trump isn't even fucking there for. What?
Because we recorded it before this, and I had to go take a shower. That's why I'm sweaty. I was working out. But I do, both of you guys. I appreciate the attention to detail. And Guy said to me, okay, you're the boss. And I said, yep, I am.
What? Is this where he's saying why he's wearing a suit? Hold on.
Apocalypse is upon us. This article we covered yesterday. It's in yesterday's show notes, but I'd like you to read it again because it covers inside the article that not only are firefighters, EMTs, corrections officers, and other first responders, heroes out there, put themselves on the line during the peak of this pandemic when we didn't know how infectious or how deadly this virus was.
Yeah, and a bunch of them died early because there was no vaccine, fucko.
Out there and did their jobs anyway. 8,000 cops, upwards of 8,000 cops may be forced off the job as of yesterday because of these vaccine mandates.
8,000 cops? Dear Lord Almighty. Don't tell me that when there's nearly 600,000 police officers and correction officers in the United States. 8,000? Holy shit. You're going to tell me that pretty soon that the 34 that left the NYPD, we're going to make a dent in the 15,000 that we're going to... Jesus Christ.
Ladies and gentlemen, you want to see chaos. You're about to get every single thing you wanted. How important is it to you? Public safety?
Sorry, that would not be on the people. And public safety is not something you put in air quotes. And if these motherfuckers that you're inflating, these 34 dudes in the NYPD in particular, gave a shit about the rapes and murders that are going to go unchecked because they're leaving the office or leaving the streets or leaving their patrol cars or whatever the fuck, if they cared the way you're trying to scare us, that we should be worried about crime because these assholes won't be there to do anything about it because they don't want to get vaccinated when everyone else around them has.
This is public safety to you? Vaccine mandates, public safety?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because people who've been vaccinated carry 5 times less virus than people who've caught it naturally when they get it again. 5 times. They are less likely to spread the disease even when they have it, and they're 5 times less likely to get it again in the first place. Or they're 10 times less likely to get it after they've been vaccinated, 5 times less likely to spread it.
Good luck with that. 8,000 cops, 2,000.
Yeah, what was the what was the full-time number in 2020 CSL by state? Hold on, I've got to grab this. I can't see I can't do links in this story, but
Firemen, EMTs, sanitation workers, garbage all over the streets.
We'll force them. Actually, we'll force 25 city workers to stay home. You know how many city workers that means there are?
You wanted socialism.
You wanted socialism. That's not socialism, fucko. Socialism would be, I guess, forcing other members of society to pick up those roles because we have a quota of police officers, and at the barrel of a gun, you would force them to go take that job and get vaxxed. What?
You got it. All right, without further ado, I'd like to get to my interview with President Trump. Obviously, I was wearing a different shirt. This Guy was like, Guy's a professor. This is what I love about Guy and Joe. They do everything perfectly. Guy's like, Dan, you want to change your shirt to me? I said, no. I said, but I appreciate your attention to detail. I said,
attention to detail? It's not a detail. This is a red shirt with a flag on it, and you're wearing a black suit shirt in the other one. It's not detail. Dude, you were wearing a blue shirt. You were wearing the American flag freakout shirt, smearing Old Glory shirt that you normally wear. You were wearing the blue make shit stains out of the American flag shirt that you normally wear, and now you're wearing the red make shit stains out of the American flag shirt that you wear.
You do, and I'm going to tell the audience that you were concerned about the shirt color changing because we recorded it before this, and I had to go take a shower. That's why I'm sweaty. I was working out, but I do, both of you guys. I appreciate
Thanks, you're sweaty after your shower.
The detail. And Guy said to me, okay, you're the boss. And I said, yep, I am. But I appreciate the attention to detail. That is an awesome trait to have. Here's my interview with President.
By the way, he is the boss of this podcast, which is no longer a radio show because they don't pay him enough to be a hypocrite at Cumulus. They do pay him enough to be a hypocrite at Fox. So it's important.
I want to welcome back to the show.
He's wearing a fucking suit jacket.
A great man, President Donald J. Trump. Mr. President, thank you so much for spending the time. I know you got some busy days, so thank you very much.
No, he does not. You do not know that he has busy days. He certainly wasn't busy going to Virginia.
Thank you, Dan.
So let me get right to it. A lot of people are looking to you for leadership right now.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of people are looking to you for leadership right now. Tell us, oh great leader, what to do. Lead us. Please lead us.
There are a lot of hot issues. One of them's been these vaccine mandates. I'm engaged in my own personal fight with my radio syndicator over this now. But what's your feeling about these mandates and taking away of people's bodily sovereignty and forcing them to take something
that some asshole who was president last year oversaw the beginning of a completely, I don't know if you know about this guy, Mr. Trump, but he was an untrustworthy sociopath. And he got sick and...
Mr. President, they may not need. They may have natural immunity.
That's right. Well, in some cases they do. In other cases, they're very young. And, I'm a little prejudiced because when you look at what I did with the vaccines, I got them done in 9 months, 3 of them, great ones. And now we have offshoots, and we also did...
Offshoots. He means Sputnik.
With therapeutics, with Regeneron and everything. So, I come from that side. We're very proud of what we've done because everyone said it would take 5 years. It would never happen. And we got it done in less than 9 months. But with all of that, you need your freedoms. And frankly...
You need your freedoms. You need your freedoms. Dude's had it and been vaccinated. And you know why he's been vaccinated after he had it? Because his doctors told him that's the best way to not be killed by a variant of it. Is he going to say that to his own fucking people? No.
They don't trust the Biden administration because if you remember...
Why? What the fuck do you think they're going to do? What do you think the Biden administration is going to do? Give you a saline shot and pretend it's a vaccine? Or put fucking trackers in it? Why don't they? Why shouldn't they? Who gives a fuck if they do or not? They're your people. I do not understand this ridiculous argument. They don't trust the Biden administration. Bullshit. They don't trust vaccines. They think it's the mark of the fucking beast. They think there's octopus sperm in the fucking thing, or luciferase, which is the thing that makes fireflies' tails glow, named after the fact that it's a light bearer.
I left. There were no mandates being discussed. Everybody wanted to get the vaccine.
Yeah, Democrats. That's the everybody. The rest of the Republicans, they weren't in a fucking clamor to get it, even when he was in office.
Everybody was fighting for it. Then they came out with a pause for Johnson & Johnson, which was a terrible thing to do.
Yeah, never check to make sure things are safe. Just pretend they are and full speed ahead. If somebody dies, that's the price of doing business.
6 people, of which they were better. They got better, but 6 people out of millions.
15, and it was about myocarditis. And it's a totally different vaccine, the J&J, than the Pfizer and Moderna. Whatever. Look who I'm talking to, Mr. SATs.
Well, but that pause was bad, and all of a sudden you have a mandate situation, and you have people fighting all over the country.
Look at these posters. America, free no more. 2 masks on the O's. And then Lady Liberty is getting injected right into her fucking dome. With apparently, that's pink. That's got to be adrenochrome.
We never had that problem when I was president, Daniel.
You never had the Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
And
right.
It's pretty incredible. But now you look at a big percentage of the New York City police force is going to be leaving.
No. 34 out of 15,000 or what have you is not a big number. But I guess, this is a guy who measures the length of his dick starting at his butthole, so.
Is loaded up with crime already.
Sorry. That was too much.
We have the worst mayor in history. There's never been a mayor. This is the worst mayor probably
Terrible.
Of any city.
It's weird because crime is down this year. Huh. It was worse last year. Who was president last year? But this is Biden's America. That's the important thing.
I can name a couple that are pretty bad in our country also, in addition to him, as you know.
Why are you putting that same graphic up that we just saw?
Name the same ones. But it's, it's very sad when you look at what's going on, Dan. We didn't have a problem with mandates, and now they do. And you're going to have unemployment problems, and you're going to have crime problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, because these fuckers care more about their body sovereignty, their body sovereign citizens, versus being public servants. Yeah. I'm only so willing. And by the way, the folks that are going to drop out of this are simply the Trump voters. There's not a single one of these people who is staying home from the job, cop or EMT, firefighter, anybody that isn't a Trump voter.
Yeah, it's a shame. I did it was kind of a funny segment last week on my Fox show. Nostradamus, right? I did a segment called Trumpstradamus.
It's so good. That's so easy to say too. Trumpstradamus. Yeah, it just kind of rolls right off the fucking tongue. Trumpstradamus. Trumpster dumbass is how I would pronounce it.
Everything you had predicted if Biden got in the White House. I wish you were wrong, candidly, Mr. President, but you were. Everything you'd predicted about the economy, the border.
Know.
Yeah, did Trump predict $36,000 in the stock market? Hold on one second. I gotta Let me check one thing real quick. Let's see. If I may, let's see. Maybe I'm off. Hold on. It's not working. Where are we? Hold on. News. Hold on one second. I'll be right back. Give me 1 second. Hold on. I'm back. Hold on. I'm back. I got. Put this on. That's way. Headphones are in. Back and thing down. Sorry. There we go. And back where we were. Here we go. Stocks updates. Let's see. Stock futures opened a little changed Wednesday, even to hold near record highs, with investors contemplating the Federal Reserve's decision to paring back some of its monetary policy, supporting the economic recovery. I'm sure he predicted all of this. Earlier during the regular session, each of the S&P 500, Dow, and NASDAQ set a record intraday and closing highs yet again. I'm sure he predicted. I'm sure Trump predicted that. Right? I mean, all these are in green. It can't all be green. Oh, look at that. 36, 157, 58. That's... Look at that business. Well, that's obviously got to be. That's in the green. That's in the green. That's in the green. Treasury yields. That's in the green. Oh, here you go. Here's a Nikkei's down. Oh, the Japanese. 0.43%. Trump probably predicted the Nikkei would take a shit by 0.43% of a point, whatever. Market rally hits high on Fed decision. But this risk returns, stock set to rise, bond curve steeper after Fed markets wrap. Is Disney stock a buy right now? I hope Trump said in there, he has to have mentioned it.
Came true.
You look at energy, Dan, you look at energy independence, and I heard
oh God, the fucking energy independence bullshit.
About your show, and I actually saw part of it. It was great. But you look at energy independence, you look at the horrible withdrawal. We were going to withdraw from Afghanistan.
Wage, change in wages versus change in inflation. So this is percentage wage change, percentage inflation. Yes, inflation overshot that in this particular time. And then look at this. Look at this. Look at this. What was this? What was this little drop-off situation? Policies going into these kind of things as the new lockdown started, and then we climb back up. Look at that.
We're going to take out the military last after we blew up the bases, except for Bagram, which we were using for China. Now,
yes, the Trump I was never going to leave Afghanistan. That was all bullshit storyline.
China's taking over Bagram, the longest.
Yes, and they can fucking have it. Good luck, China. Enjoy Bagram. It has no strategic use for you, and you are just endangering your own country and drawing ATIM and ISIS-K and the Uyghur-supporting Muslim extremist groups more into your own country while you're dicking around in the north for no fucking reason.
Ways in the world. China is taking it over, and it's right near China. Right.
These are all Chinese troops. I don't know if you know that.
So through their nuclear weapons 1 hour away, it is so pathetic. And then you look at the southern border wall, which is no wall, which is
Yeah, look at these horrifying monsters. I mean, this is all MS-13. MS-13 is making huge headway in getting toddlers across the, like, can you imagine? Look at this. Look how they get us. This one right here. Look at this kid right here wearing his Captain America shirt like he's already a fucking American. I mean, honestly.
just people pouring.
Look at these. Oh, there's a girl there and a girl there and a girl there and women holding there's a little boy and his mom and then the little kid right there and they're dragging these kids along. And this guy's just letting them in. During Trump, he would have bounced the shit out of them. Now they're just letting them in, these women and children.
Through our country, we have the wall was we did almost 500 miles of wall. They could have had it.
It's the same shit. Look, even Bongino's bored with this bullshit.
In 1 month, and it would have stopped all of these caravans coming up. You wouldn't have had a problem. It's just a disgrace. What's happened to our country in 9 months is an absolute disgrace.
Well, obviously, you did a really shitty job building up the country when you were in there, that it can be torn down so quickly by a doddering old man who doesn't even know where he is. I mean, honestly.
I've never seen anything like it.
Well, that's because you've always lived in a high-rise and you're a second-generation rich kid who bankrupted your dad's company after he built it.
Yeah. Mr.
Couldn't, by the way, who was a racist asshole and couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
President, you were rather firm with President Xi. I mean,
was he firm with him? Was he firm during the beginning of the pandemic when he said, yeah, he's handling it very professionally. It's always great. And then after he sold the deal, he signed the deal, and then Xi only bought a third of what he was going to in phase one. He was always tough with him.
You dealt with him on a realpolitik basis, but you were
a realpolitik basis. He is wearing a suit right now, so
with him at times when we needed to be. Do you think, having dealt with him, obviously I've never met him, you have, having dealt with him, do you think he sniffs weakness in this president now? I mean, we've seen now the launch of a hypersonic missile since you've left office.
Yeah, do you think they invented that hypersonic missile in the last 5 months? They just stumbled upon that technology? Or were they building it the entire time they were blowing you and making you think they liked you?
By China. Right. They're now testing.
And it's pronounced Xi. X-I. Xi. Xi Jinping.
Weapons to blow up ports, underwater explosives, so we can't assist Taiwan if we needed to. You think he sniffs weakness in Biden like candidly everybody else does?
Dude, the missile they just launched isn't necessary to attack Taiwan.
Well, none of these things happened when I was president. Now they're flying.
They built it. They built it while you were president, you fucking dweeb.
Bombers over Taiwan, and none of it happened. They weren't doing that. Look, Taiwan is very far away.
No, they were busy attacking us with a bioweapon. Isn't that what you said?
9,000 miles away, but, and it's right next to China, as you know. And they consider it part of China. But
yes, give us a history lesson. Did you, by the way, say that that we would protect Taiwan? Biden just did. Did you reassert the sovereignty of Taiwan at any point? No, you didn't, did you?
Never had any problems with Taiwan.
Yeah, I never had any problems with Taiwan. As far as I was concerned, it was theirs to have, and fuck them.
Did that, and I told him that in our first meeting. I had a very good relationship until COVID came, and then I said, look, this is too bad what's happened.
Yeah, it's too bad. It's just too bad. You know what I mean? Everything was going fine, and then you killed over 500,000 of our people and blew my stock market up, and I don't know. I just don't feel the same way about it.
Worse. So when you look at what's happened with COVID, with the death, and I'm talking about a worldwide problem, not just the United States.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you give special worth to the United States or some shit. You know what I mean?
We handled it well as it could be handled.
No, you didn't.
But I'm talking about
well as could be handled if you totally pantsed us on our pandemic response, never thought it was important, blew it off until the last minute, and then screwed the pooch for 9 months, and then went, as long as it doesn't wreck the stock market, I'm fine. And then we need to fix this before the election.
Worldwide problem. And
and also Hong Kong who?
I can tell you, Dan, whether it's him, whether it's Putin, whether it's Kim Jong-un of North Korea, whether it's anybody, they're at the top of their game.
Are they? Are they? Sorry, one second, if I may. Hold on. They're at the top of their game. Top of their game. Top of their game, right? Top of their game. Putin orders Russians to stop work for a week amid record COVID daily deaths. October 21st. Russian President Vladimir Putin announced Wednesday that Russians will take a paid week off in order to try to combat the COVID-19 crisis in the country as the number of daily COVID deaths reached its highest ever level since the start of the pandemic. By the way, they can afford to do that because Russians in general, unfortunately, don't make shit. On Wednesday, the Kremlin announced that in order to prevent further spread of the novel coronavirus and to protect public health, the president has announced that October 30th to November 7th, inclusive, will be paid non-working days. Sorry, let's go back, shall we? Let's see, Putin, COVID. Let's go. How about the top of their game? China COVID cases. Let's just top of their game. Let's top of their game. Let's see. Look in the news. Here we go. There you go. Top of their game. Here's the top of their game. China's COVID-19 cases spike ahead of Communist Party conclave. That's when Xi will be chosen to be their leader again. Beijing, November 3rd. China's new locally transmitted COVID-19 cases spiked to a near 3-month high, and tighter curbs to contain the spread are expected in the capital, Beijing, ahead of a key gathering of the highest-ranking members of the Communist Party next week. The National Health Commission confirmed on Wednesday 93 new local symptomatic cases, which means, if you know the Chinese math, 93,000. For November 2nd, up from 54 a day earlier. Just bullshit. Like, the numbers are stupid low. But let's go. Let me jump back into this. Top of their game. Remember, top of their game. China. Let's see. Let's just look up energy. That's what the country runs on. Let's see. On climate change, China's words and actions don't match. China shrugs off Biden's criticism for skipping COP26. Yeah, by the way, Xi Jinping couldn't appear at COP26 because they didn't get the Zoom link. Just so you know. Just adding that little piece there. Let's see. And we find. I want to find. These are all the. Here you go. Targets 1.8% cut in average coal use at power plants by 2025. Bullshit. Let's see. Energy blackouts. China Rust Belt province warns of more shortages in energy crisis. Beijing, October 11th, largest provincial economy in China's northeast Rust Belt on Monday, warned of worsening power shortages despite government efforts to boost coal supply and manage electricity use in post-pandemic energy crisis. It's okay, and there we go. How about, let's see. Coal prices hit record high. Power cuts continue. This is fine, right? What could this is top of his game. Guys, they're at the top of their game. Top of their game. What more? Oh, I guess not. Top of their game from Lauren He at CNN Business. Chinese coal prices hit record high and power cuts continue. Flooding in northern China. Wait a minute. Flooding in northern China is hitting a major coal production center hard. By the way, it's sending coal prices soaring and complicating efforts by Beijing to tackle ongoing power shortages. What she means by hitting a major coal production center hard is the coal mines are now gigantic swimming pools. They are man-made lakes. They are filling in with fucking water. Imagine, if you would, in Mansions, West Virginia, a story of rains pouring down on West Virginia and filling in all the coal mines with water. Think about it. Imagine how people would go, I think Manchin's at the top of his game. Governor of West Virginia, too. Top of his game. Oh, yeah, and the dead miners. Exactly, Bean Toes. Fuckers were in there when these floods happened. I mean, it's one thing to not have access to your mines. It's another thing when the miners that work there who know what the fuck they're doing are now dead. Top of their game. Top of their game, guys. Let's see. Flooding. Top of their game. At least 15 dead after heavy rainfall and flooding in northern China. This is October 12th. This isn't even like the last few months. Nearly 2 million displaced in Shaanxi province. And my heart breaks for the people that are there. My issues are with the government always, but the people themselves are fucked in this situation. It's heartbreaking. Look at these folks. They're trying to like patch this hole. More than 1.76 million people have been affected by severe flooding in China's northern Shaanxi province, according to local media. Torrential rain last week led to houses collapsing and triggered landslides across more than 70 districts, and people are just displaced. Everybody talks about this fucking bus. So in a neighboring Hebei province, a bus fell into a flooded river. State media said 3 people had died. 11 of the 51 on board were missing. Flooding comes less than 3 months after extreme rains in Henan province left more than 300 people dead. Yeah, a lot more. Man, it's easy to seem at the top of your game when you don't even have to admit how many people have fucking drowned. Look at this. Look at this. This is a tunnel. This goes down into a tunnel. See all these cars? These had people in them. This isn't a parking road. This isn't a parking structure. This is an underground tunnel. The idea that folks managed to escape, or that 12 people died in a completely packed tunnel that was full of cars, is nonsense. But top of his game. Remind everybody, top of their game. Folks, top.
Absolute top. I know them all very well.
Yeah, you know them so well. Know them great. Whatever. They don't return your calls now, but
I've dealt with them all. We did great with them. We did great with all of them.
Yeah, they did great. You know, obviously China hit us with the largest bioweapon attack according to you in our nation's history, and you celebrated by giving them all of our corn, soybeans, and pork or beef while Americans were in bread lines.
Look what happened in North Korea. He stopped and he respected our
country. He just built shit. He didn't fire anything.
But we're not respected anymore. They are all at the absolute top of their game, and we're not. I think the withdrawal.
What? And again, more un-American bullshit.
Afghanistan was the single greatest embarrassment.
Morgan feels sleepy, so I have to talk to him until he gets home. That's good of you to do it, Beck, and it's totally fine. Just rewind. We appreciate you doing it. Beck has to watch out for her son because he's got a long drive and it's nighttime, and yeah, that's a good thing.
In the history of our country, it wasn't a withdrawal; it was a surrender.
No, it wasn't. We weren't fucking at war. We were not at war in Afghanistan. We hadn't been for a long time. We were supporting the Afghan government and the Afghan military. We decided to stop. He already made that decision. Everybody ran on it. Everybody was talking about getting out of there. The mission had been over for 15 fucking years. What are you talking about? Stop shaming our military and especially our soldiers on the ground by lying about them.
And to leave $85 billion.
Bullshit. This nonsense number he keeps making up.
And most importantly, 13 incredible young lives. And you know, there are over 20.
The injured people. We don't even talk about them.
People that are really, really badly.
Lost legs and arms.
Injured without arms and legs.
Jesus.
And this is what we got. And we took out the military first, so instead of taking the military out last.
They were military. The fuck are you talking about?
After the Americans, you probably have 1,000 hostages over there too, by the way.
We do not have 1,000 hostages over there.
And I think it was the
Yeah. Just say yeah to everything he says, Bongino, you fucking sycophant.
greatest embarrassment in the history of our country.
Again, embarrassment. He always chooses that word because while he has no shame, he is easily embarrassed. And embarrassing is the worst insult he can come up with because he's got a delicate ego. He's a complete wuss.
That was handled.
And what I find even more disgusting about this guy in the White House now is he keeps trying to blame you for this deal with the Taliban. But, Mr. President,
yes, it's his fucking deal, dumbass.
4 days after your deal with the Taliban, you authorized an attack on the Taliban.
Right. But he also authorized the release of 5,000 Taliban.
They broke the deal. So I've asked you this.
So why didn't you extend the deal and give us the extra couple months? Why did he stick to the May deadline?
But just throwing that out there again, if you felt that they violated the deal and you weren't locked in by your own deal.
He was locked in. He didn't move the date. He went, that's another 15 days. We get to stay, you little fuckers.
How the hell could Joe Biden be locked into a deal that you weren't locked into? You get what I'm saying?
Because the deal entailed us staying for fucking ever, you dipshit. The whole point of this stupid deal was that you got to prove to us that there's never going to be an Al-Qaeda, and that's how you keep up your end. Well, how do we prove that? By never having Al-Qaeda in the country. Well, how do you? We won't. Well, how do we know? Well, you don't. You have to leave and trust us. Well, we don't trust you. So what? So we're never going to leave. So what the fuck are we talking about? Back to war, I guess.
Days later, you hit them with a military strike because they broke the deal.
We hit them hard. Remember this?
Apparently not hard enough. You didn't hit Bardar, who you just had a fucking meeting with, and you didn't hit any of the 5,000 fighters and command sergeants and all the other folks that you got out of jail.
And I dealt with the head, and he's still the head, Abdul. Remember that.
Remember the Abdul, and I said, and Abdul. Fuck.
Had a rough conversation with him, and he understood.
Apparently he didn't, because you had to hit him again 15 days after you signed the deal. What the fuck do you mean he understood?
Never will anybody be hit so hard as they would have been.
Apparently, you hit him as hard as you could, and it didn't fucking do anything. Now, you do this, or I'll fucking hit you harder than anybody in the world. Okay, we'll not do this. 15 days later, you did it. All right, well, hit us. Okay.
And I had a very good conversation with him. But remember,
Yeah, apparently that ended in them breaking the deal within 2 fucking weeks. You hitting them harder than anyone could ever hit, the hardest that would ever be hit, and the hardest hitting of the world. And then nothing happened.
18 months, and Biden even said it. For 18 months, we didn't lose one soldier, unlike in Chicago, run by Democrats, and New York, run by Democrats.
Yeah, but also these are the cities with the most crime, but they're also the cities with the most people and who pay the most in taxes and carry the country on their back. So fuck you.
We didn't lose one run by just horrible mayors.
You do realize that there's a lot more murders. As to paraphrase Dylan Moran, yes, there's more crime in the cities. There's also more coffee, sex, and conversation.
You look at, the worst mayors in New York, what's happening in New York.
Yeah, the crime going down from last year when you were president.
In Chicago, it's not even believable. And other cities, Dan, all Democrat run, but they lose.
Well, they are the cities that produce the most money, have the strongest business base, have the largest number of people in them, and they are democratically run. Yes, they are nation states in their own right. But hands down, you guys run the podunk towns better than anybody. And never mind the fact that even though they're small cities, they still have per capita murder and drug overdose rates that really nip at the heels of the big cities because, in a city that big like New York and Chicago, you may not even know who's died of a drug overdose or been shot in your city because it's just a big city with 7 to 10 million people in the outlying area. But in most of the Republican-run areas, you know exactly who you're shooting.
To crime.
Yeah.
killed, many people being killed. Not one American soldier in Afghanistan was killed for 18 months after I spoke to the head of the Taliban. And we were going to leave. I wanted to get out. 21 years, I wanted to get out.
You wanted to get out. Why didn't you? Why didn't you?
Down to 2,500 troops, assuming the election wasn't rigged, which it was. If we won the election, which we did.
No, you didn't. You lost. It wasn't rigged. You're an asshole. Stop nodding, Dan, you un-American prick. You have a flag right behind you. Respect it.
It was a disgrace what took place.
Look at all these Afghans with their tents arriving in Newark. Is that LaGuardia? What the fuck?
Another subject, but a lot of people are talking about it. But we would have had everybody out.
Thanks, Grace.
And then we would have taken the military. But after the equipment, after the Americans.
Yeah, after all the sand.
After other people that deserve to be out. And remember, Dan, they keep talking.
Yes, what we would do is leave soldiers on the ground after all the pilots have left and all the vehicles have left and the bases have been blown up and the civilians have left. And basically, the soldiers would just walk out on their own.
The fact that they got a lot of people out. Many of those people you don't want.
Yeah. We got out all the wrong people.
I think you're going to find that terrorists. They just charged the plane. 3%, all of the planes, 3% of the people that we took out in the plane loads of people, 3% of those people qualified to be taken out.
Well, no. They went through the paperwork on those people, and it's much higher than 3%. But what he's talking about is that he and Stephen Miller were disqualifying people. And he didn't count. If you helped the American service people, if you protected them with your life, if you translated on their behalf, if you endangered your life by working with the Americans, you counted as the person Trump thought should get out. Your wife and your fucking kids, no way. And the idea was, the Trump plan with Stephen Miller was, we'll get you out. Sure, yeah, you can come. We're going to have to leave your family, though. You don't want to leave your family behind, do you? I mean, what kind of guy are you? I mean, you can come out. We're totally going to get you out. Yeah, like we said, we're going to keep our deal. We talked about it in the press. We're going to get everybody who helped us out. But your fucking wife, I mean, she's got to stay with your 2 daughters. I mean, they got to stay. I mean, you can come if you want to. I'm just saying, if I was you, I would stay with them. That was the plan. Give these guys a choice. Get out of the country by them fucking selves. Or leave their family behind, or stay, which is really what they were going for. Yeah, that's right. The GOP is the family party.
97%. We don't even know who the hell they are.
Yes, we do. They're the wives and children of these people who helped us, and the assistant staff who worked at the embassy, and their gay partner or their wife or their husband.
And now they're coming to our country. They're settling in our country, Dan. You're going to have problems for years to come. Most incompetently managed thing I think I've ever seen.
Well, considering you hamstrung it for 2 fucking years, yeah.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Speaking of
well, of course not, because you're a racist.
Of elections, I do want to get to the 2020 election too. What happened in Wisconsin yesterday? But this interview.
Yeah, by the way, yesterday I think he's talking about the cop.
The air on Tuesday, election day in Virginia and New Jersey, and I got to tell you, Mr. President, I was really happy you sent out that email telling people, listen, go vote. Listen, I get the system sucks.
Yes, he sent an email. Yes, the system sucks. It's totally rigged, but go vote. Gee, it's almost as if Youngkin won by stiff-arming Trump, but now he's going to cleave to him.
My language, but the system is a mess. We need voter ID, I understand, but we need to win these elections in New Jersey and Virginia. I mean, listen, these guys.
But honestly, it was rigged. The Democrats only let him win to just kind of take the air out of the whole election fraud tires. This is all a setup. You know, it's obvious. I've tried. I don't have my satire button. I need my satire button, and I don't have it here.
Just going to march all over and burn this country to the ground. And I really feel like if we can at least win one of those, Virginia or New Jersey, preferably.
Wait, what the fuck did you just say?
And I really feel these guys are just going to march all over.
Hold on.
elections in New Jersey and Virginia. I mean, listen, these guys are just going to march all over and burn this country to the ground. And I really feel like if we can at least win one of those.
Oh, I think he meant like Democrats. I thought he was like telling the Trump voters to do this. He thinks Democrats, now that we're in power, are going to march all over and burn the country to the ground.
Virginia or New Jersey,
Yes. No one, you think Democrats riot when things don't go their way. Wait till you see the riots we do when things are going our way.
both. I think it sends a message to Biden that, listen, the country's done with you at this point. And
yeah, no, it doesn't. I mean, obviously, McAuliffe and New Jersey had gone its way under Trump, and apparently you didn't take that as an example of Trump, we're done with you, did you?
Comes a de facto lame duck.
Right.
Yeah, 9 months into office. Yeah, he's a de facto lame duck. Please run on that idea.
I think it's going to be very interesting. New Jersey looks like it's a lot closer than anyone would have thought.
That's right.
And we have a very good Republican candidate. He's a very good man, very
And he loses.
capable guy.
And he lost.
And Virginia, it looks like it's going to be something very special.
Very special. And by the way, Trump, I don't know, this is before the election, obviously. Trump was doing everything he can to well, he could win. If he wins, I want the win. But if he loses, I don't want the loss.
They don't cheat on elections. And now he's got the same lawyer. He's hired the same lawyer that did so many bad things. Look, they learned a lot of things with me as president. They learned the press is totally corrupt and dishonest. Totally, meaning largely. You're not, Dan. You're a straight shooter.
Oh, thank you.
But largely,
Well, in Dan's defense, he's not the press. He's a yammering asshole who just lost his radio show because, like I said, if you want him to be a hypocrite, he'll do it, but you got to pay Fox money. You can't pay him Cumulus money. His hypocrite whoring number is, like Cumulus will leave a 20 on the dresser, but Fox, I mean, there's a whole envelope.
dishonest. You've seen things over the last 4 or 5 years that you never thought possible. And they've also learned that the elections are terrible in this country. Everyone used to think it was so wonderful, not wonderful. So we hope they don't cheat.
Everyone used to figure we're wonderful or not wonderful. What?
Everyone used to think it was so wonderful, not wonderful. So we hope they don't cheat. And when I said that, when I made the statement, and I thought it was very simple. It was a very simple statement. People have to trust the elections, otherwise they're not going to vote. I'm not telling people not to vote. I want them to vote regardless of anything. But people aren't going to trust it. That when they went through what they went through in 2020 presidential elections.
Is he good? Is he like coughing up stuff?
We got to fix this system, or they're not going to vote. Not as a threat, just that it's going to be hard to get people to do it, to motivate them to go.
Well, yeah, because you've been turning them off from elections and telling them that it's all rigged. And every time we freeze on Bongino, he looks like this asshole again. Fuck. Every time. You can see, if you freeze on somebody, a lot of times you can get a glimpse of what they really feel. Like the in-between frames. Every time we stop on him, it's Jesus.
And vote because they're tired of it. The corrupt election. So I'm watching closely Virginia, and so is everyone else. And we'll see what happens. And you have a big race in New Jersey. It's hard to win in New Jersey, they say. But
who's they? Chris Christie? Huh. It's funny he didn't say that.
They have all
bunghole bro looks like his Coke money ran out. I think so.
mail-in ballots now in New Jersey. That makes it very hard. We should not allow the mail-in ballot stuff. You should have an election day like we used to have, where you go to vote unless you're in the military or unless you have a...
Well, I'll tell you what. If we don't have a pandemic next time, we will. How about that? If you want elections like that, next time you're president, which will be never, but, let's just play along. Don't allow a pandemic to nearly destroy the country and fuck up life in America so profoundly. Because that's what's going to make everybody mail in their vote. we're all happy to go down on election day. And, I love it. I'm a big fan. I love going in. I love getting my little sticker I love getting my sticker from the lady. It's usually a lady at the voting place that I go to. At my polling place, I get my little I voted sticker. I love getting it there. I don't want to get it out of an envelope and go, all right, I mailed it in.
Pretty big medical problem, because otherwise there's going to be massive cheating. There's no way you can stop it if you have mail-in ballots.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, you can track it. You can check after the fact. If anybody's caught doing it in an egregious way, you can arrest them. You can make a huge issue out of it. I mean, if you can go find somebody who is ballot harvesting, and arrest them and give them 50 years, that would do it. Fucking find somebody.
Right, and I think you'd agree the only way to fix it, though, is to get people in there who are willing to fix it. And that brings me to my next question, which is...
How do you elect people you can trust with a rigged election? So why would you vote in an election that's rigged for people that you think will get in there? And if they do get in there, is it really rigged in the first place? And is every change you're making bullshit?
Listen to that press conference. Yeah, we got to get good people in there. And we don't.
How? We can do airdrop them in? If the election's rigged, that's the problem they have
enough good people. Candidly, Mr. President, a lot of these Republicans are weak too. I wish they weren't. But there was
they're hideous. But yes, please continue. Just don't get distracted. Shit on rhinos, please. I'll wait.
Interesting press conference yesterday at a Racine, Wisconsin. A local sheriff who looks like he has a pretty open and shut case.
Yeah, no, he doesn't. I watched the whole thing. We did it on my show. It's nonsense. Go back and watch it.
Appears to be pretty widespread voter fraud in a nursing home.
Rex is saying, I wonder if using the U.S. Postal Service to commit election fraud, mailing in bogus ballots would add an additional federal criminal charge. Yes, it would. It would add, in general, 10 years, 2 particular counts in that particular sense. Using someone else's ballot through the mail and sending a fraudulent document through the mail that's an oath-based document. So it's an extra 5 years. And then I guess for each of those charges. So that's 10 years. Yeah. Per ballot. Per ballot.
Wisconsin, your thoughts on that? Because, again, the media, it's interesting, though, Mr. President.
By the way, don't forget to like and subscribe. We have a thumbs up. I'm doing all this work for you. I mean, honestly, who keeps all this stuff in their head constantly for your comedic enjoyment, just so you can smile through this? I'm just saying. Remember when every time this asshole came on, you were miserable, and now it's just kind of a charming, ridiculous side cul-de-sac to your day?
To be long-winded here, but the local media out there in Wisconsin, ran with the story. The local Fox affiliate had this story all over.
Yeah, the local Fox affiliate. That's weird.
You haven't seen much from CNN, MSNBC, or...
Because this guy's bullshit has already been vetted months ago, and it's nothing. The governor's office, everybody said that already. We've been through this bullshit. It's bullshit on top of bullshit.
Any of those other outlets, fascinating, huh?
That's because they're corrupt, Dan. We have a very corrupt media, worse than just the media that's not good. These are corrupt people.
Yeah, there's not good media, and then there's corrupt media. It's the not good stuff. That's the best we can hope for.
They know how big that story is. We have a patriot sheriff. He's a patriot, and his staff are patriots. These are great people. And he didn't do talking like a lot of other people. He went out and did an investigation.
Yeah, and came up with nothing.
Which lasted for a long time.
Yes, I watched the whole thing. You didn't. I guarantee Trump did not watch the whole fucking thing.
They found massive voter fraud.
He's like, there's some lung gunk happening here. Thank you, Diana. By the way, nice purple shirt. Thank you. It was purple earlier. I would like to say for the record, whoops, my green screen is like, this is a good solid purple. I'm just saying. It's a nice tone.
In Racine, which is a big area of Wisconsin, which is a great state.
Is it just me? I mean, I can't tell if it's, the connection shit on his phone, but he sounds gravelly.
Which we won by a lot. And in this one area, a big area, you'll use it as a poll, as a sample, anything you want. They found massive voter fraud, in particular in nursing homes, and the sheriff had a news conference to announce it. So now we're going to see whether the local district attorney is going to do something about it. but it was an incredible day. I mean, it was so big. And all he is doing is giving the facts. And he stood up, and it was really incredible to watch him and his associates stand up and say what happened. The election was rigged.
No, it wasn't. And that's not what he came across. And he was concerned that 7 people that had MAGA relatives said that their relative was not in any mental state to vote out of 49 at this one particular place. And the assumption is that those 7 people, everybody else, they called up and went, did your dad vote? Yeah, Dad always votes. And then they talked to the person, did you vote? Yeah, I voted. Of course I did. Most of them, by the way, voted Republican, including the loony bin people, including the people who were, or had dementia or Alzheimer's, with the idea that they could point to it and go, we're not going to make a judgment. Do you want to vote for somebody? I don't know anything. All right. And they turn the news on for a couple of days, normally Fox News, and they come back and go, who do you want to vote for now? And they're like, I like the orange fella.
And he said it loud and...
Yes, and it was Paul Ryan's fucking district. Let's see. I wish how you sold those necklaces. I would wear that so much. Oh, well, thanks, Rev. Yes, we will. We only have a few of these, and they're going to be going out to the patrons who've been patrons the longest. I'm so behind on mailing shit out. I'm terribly sorry. It's just all the show stuff has been overwhelming.
Yesterday, and that was a big section of Wisconsin.
Yeah, I covered it in my podcast last week. I wanted to ask you a big topic of your administration has been the sovereignty of the United States and
former administration
fortifying our borders, which you would think, Mr. President, that any president as the commander in chief would be concerned about borders. That would.
Yeah, that's why the Obama administration deported more people than Trump did, and the Biden administration is doing the same thing. The thing that jacked Trump's numbers up in some areas was the fact that he was rejecting skilled workers from other countries because he didn't like the fact that they were Asian or brown.
Be a thing. Unfortunately, many are not. Joe Biden seems to have wiped clean our southern border, and now
wiped it clean. It doesn't exist, by the way. If you need to come across, there's not even roads anymore. It's like Mad Max down there.
There are rumors out there of a Biden administration initiative to propose $450,000 payments to illegal immigrants who violated our laws
as a settlement against paying $5 million apiece.
Payments for family separations.
Does Patreon 416 get one? I should hope so at some point. I don't know if I have that many. It's like the ones who've been there the longest.
So on that,
eventually I will have enough where I can make them available to everybody. But the original batch, I only have a few.
Outrageous.
Our dear friend Rob Glenn made them for us.
Absurdity.
It's not even believable. And family separation, nobody's done the border like that. We had the strongest border in the history of our country by far.
Thanks to COVID.
Now we have the worst border, and drugs are pouring through. Not only people.
Well, no, they're being found. Drugs are being found. The assumption is that the more drugs you find, the more drugs that are coming across, which is a ridiculous notion if everybody at the border is doing their fucking job. The recognition would be, oh my God, this is the stuff that gets through all the time. Now that we're catching this is stuff that isn't getting through. And more, we're catching it more than we did during the Trump era.
Drugs are pouring through. They're emptying out their jails from...
Yeah, I love the president of Mexico, but he's jumping all of their Ted Bundys out. The Guatemalan Ted Bundys and the Colombian Ed Geins and the Jeffrey Epsteins of Honduras are all marching north. They've been released from prison under one condition, that they don't get all Epstein-y and Ed Gein-y and Ted Bundy until they reach America. Promise? See. Okay, well, you can go.
100 countries. They're emptying out all their prisoners into our country. They're walking right across our border.
Yeah, and by the way, you saw the women and children he showed earlier. I'm afraid. What's
happening is a disgrace. But on top of everything else now, they're giving $450,000 to illegal aliens that came in. One thing was separation. Now, when a person heard about separation, you know what happened and the reason for it? They didn't come to our country.
Well, yeah, and by the way, the payments aren't going to people who were simply separated. They're going to the people who were separated without any arrangement to reunite people or a system in place to put children back with their parents. So they basically were abducted by the United States, which is a violation of international law and would cost the United States a lot of fucking money. So it's easier just to settle with these folks.
So they wouldn't come. So we didn't have.
And by the way, it hasn't been done, but that's the proposed settlement number, which is what you do in negotiations. Probably won't happen, but there you go.
Problems like these people have right now, where millions of people are pouring up. We're going to have 10 or 12 million people in 1 year.
10 or 12 million people in 1 year.
To our country, speaking many different languages,
Yeah, and I mean, like, how are Customs and Border Patrol just saying yes to everybody?
Talking about over 100 countries are coming in. Many of these people, unfortunately.
That over 100 countries with like 24 different languages amongst the 100 countries.
They are very ill. They're very sick.
Yes, the Haitians are bringing their own disease. Hondurans all have, I don't know, scabies.
With diseases that you're going to catch. And I mean, COVID is the least of it. All right? COVID is bad. They have a lot worse coming in.
Jesus Christ. Listen to this fucking dude. 100 countries, 24 different languages, 10 to 17 million people coming across, and they've all got scabies, AIDS, and peanut allergies.
And they're just pouring into our country.
Just pouring across the border. Like, it's like World War Z, but with chicken pox.
Water pours in, and it's going to be hell to pay. You have people coming in from the Middle East. You definitely have terrorists in the group. The people.
Well, yeah, those toddlers. I mean, obviously, if they don't get their whoopee, mushroom cloud. I don't know how you say mushroom cloud in a Haitian dialect of Arabic.
Came in the planes from Afghanistan. You definitely have terrorists and those people. I said 97%. Nobody knows who they are.
Yeah, no, yeah, like, hey, kid, come over here. Anybody speak Pashto? This kid's his mom's over there. She speaks perfect English. I'm not going to ask her. She's probably going to lie. You think that bitch is going to tell us if this 4-year-old is a terrorist? No fucking way. Interrogate him alone.
It's a disgrace what's happened to our.
Take this toddler to Guantanamo.
In a period of, I've heard you talk about it brilliantly. In a period of 9 months, they're destroying our country.
Yeah. I hope you're enjoying the interview with President Trump. I really appreciate your patience, but
Yeah, no, that was a shit interview, quite frankly. All you did was nod and yup through the whole fucking thing, and he answered the same. He had the same stupid responses that he always has. There you go. I'm not Genucel, really.
With President Donald J. Trump, check this out.
Oh yeah,
it's amazing how quickly it's gotten so bad. Mr. President, your thoughts on Dr. Anthony Fauci? I know that a lot.
Oh, fuck. I listened to him and I did the opposite. And he said, hi, I'm Tony. And God damn it. Will anybody ask him a new question?
People ask you about this, but
Yes, everybody asks him. Dan, you fucking suck at interviews.
I wanted to get your candid thoughts about him. You dealt with him.
Your candid thoughts. Yeah, bump into him on the golf course and then tape it.
I haven't. Again, I don't know him like you did.
Yes, Hal Sparks, when he claims they're pouring over the border, I imagine the blob. Yeah, exactly. Just oozing through the fence, through the slat fence.
Early on, there was a lot of confusion. I get that. But it appears now that his statements about gain-of-function research in the Wuhan lab and funding from the United States government, it appears that some of those statements don't exactly align with the truth at this point.
Yeah.
Should he resign?
Well, I'm the one that stopped the.
Yeah, hold on a second. Now, I don't want to go all day on this. Hold on.
Thing is, when
Hold on. I gotta look. Hold on. Give me 1 second, if I could, kids. I gotta shut some windows, otherwise it's gonna eat up all my bandwidth. So Trump is making this case that about gain of function. Let's see. See if I can find this. There we go. Let's go.
Once mentioned to you.
Hold on. This is. Let me see if I can land right on the right place. This is from Sky News Australia. Put together a special on the Wu flu. And it's real important that I make you understand that the China virus is all behind this, right?
We're able to come to the table, express their viewpoints, their concerns, so that we had.
And Pompeo's lost a lot of weight because he's planning on running for president. By the way, he will never be president. Not ever, ever, ever. Never. Not ever. Won't happen. Forget about it. So he's going to end up just making money off his run.
Only a decision, but an informed decision that was made. I've seen very little evidence to date that there was a broad-based information exchange before the decision was made.
By the way, plenty of spooky music on this. This is a Sky News special investigation. What really happened in Wuhan?
Dr. Fauci to lift that ban on gain-of-function research.
So this is what they're talking about. What caused him to lift this ban on gain-of-function in Wuhan? That's the part of the special. It's like why is this scary? Pence isn't paying attention. He's just staring off like he's an action figure that's just sitting on your shelf. And Trump looks like he's reading Fauci's notes to see if he's done. Is he almost done?
Mr. President Anthony Fauci, did he ever once mention to you that the Wuhan Institute of Virology was genetically manipulating coronaviruses?
Well, no, he didn't. And, you know, Anthony's been in government for many, many years. He's a bureaucratic.
By the way, Trump is indeed, if you've noticed, making Illuminati hand gestures. He's always doing it. Now, when Obama did this was a sign by Republicans that that he was part of an international cabal of world-dominating Marxist monsters that want to create a one-world government or something. Whenever he would do this, when Trump does it, it's because he hollows out his hands where he wishes his penis would be.
Kind of a guy, a very great promoter. I give
hair looks great, by the way.
An A+ as a promoter and probably a C or a D as a doctor.
We now know from emails that have been released under the Freedom of Information Act that he was getting his advice from the likes of Peter Daszak, a Wuhan collaborator. At the same time, he was telling you that this was a natural virus, while at the same time, behind the scenes in emails,
Peter Balsack,
he was having discussions about whether this might have been genetically manipulated. Does that shock you?
Well, he was dealing with them, certainly, and my thing was a little bit different. I just wanted to stop it.
I didn't care how it came in. And, of course, knowing whether it was a wild virus or if it was genetically created would actually affect policy and how you dealt with it. But I just wanted to stop it. I don't know. It was really about the stock market for me.
Whether it developed one way or the other, I just wanted to stop it.
But it's important to know where it came from. It's extremely important to know how it developed.
Fauci was dealing with them, and...
Hold on. I did a needle drop on this. Let me see if Trump's... They talk about the gain-of-function stuff. Maybe it's in here.
Well, the WHO is controlled by China.
Okay, hold on. This is the whole thing. I want to see where that part of it is. Where?
Weapon?
So, I'd like to think it wasn't, and I'll probably have to leave it at that because I want to give the benefit of a doubt, and China was also affected.
It's benefit of the doubt, but never mind. Hold on. I have to find this in here because she actually calls him on it at one point about the gain of function stuff in here. Maybe it's in here.
Convinced you that it did in all likelihood come from a lab.
Well, I started hearing stories that you have also, that there were lots of body bags outside of the lab. And people were saying,
Jesus, so fucking lost. It's just like it's like he was watching the goddamn news like anybody else. He ran the goddamn government, and he doesn't know shit about this. Hold on. I have to find this because there's a clip in here where she asks him specifically about gain of function. I'll see if it's this one. I might have jumped it. Hold on.
The lab escapee.
well, the WHO is controlled by China. I dropped out of the World Health Organization. I thought it was ridiculous. They were late. They were wrong.
They advised against travel restrictions. They objected to your travel ban from China.
Well, they really did what China told them to do, if you think about it. They were like a mouthpiece for China.
Okay, that's the WHO part. Heavily edited this shit, by the way. I have to find this. Yeah, so that's when they're talking about gain of function. So it has to be in this piece. Hold on.
Bureaucratic kind of a guy, a very great promoter. I give him an A+ as a promoter and probably a C or a D as a doctor.
We now know from emails that have been released under the Freedom of Information Act that he was getting his advice from the likes of Peter Daszak,
Peter Ballsack,
a Wuhan collaborator. At the same time, he was telling you that this was a natural virus, while at the same time, behind the scenes in emails, he was having discussions about whether this might have been genetically manipulated.
Well, yeah, they were discussing all of it. That's what scientists would do. What's the possibility that it's this? What's the possibility is this? The discussions aren't a problem. Discussions should happen. It's the conclusions you come to that matter.
Does that shock you?
No, because if I had there was money missing from the bank that I was the manager of, and at some point we went, maybe it was stolen. Was there a robbery yesterday? Or perhaps at some point it was just a clerical error. Somebody put the decimal point in the wrong fucking place.
Well, he was dealing with them, certainly, and my thing was a little bit different. I just wanted to stop it. Whether it developed one way or the other, I just wanted to stop it.
But it's important to know where it came from. It's extremely important to know how it developed.
Fauci was dealing with them, and I guess they were even making payments for certain kinds of research.
Oh, yeah, here it comes. This is the whole thing about gain of function and the idea that I was taking, viruses that happen naturally and making them worse.
Ended that, too. I stopped that. When
I ended that, too. I stopped that. Remember that.
Found out about that. He was doing that during the Obama years. And when I found out about it, I said, can you imagine that the United States is making payments to a Chinese lab?
By the way, the payments we were making were about security, not about gain of function. We were paying a grant to them to seal up the facility better, because the concern is that a lot of places in China that are supposed to be high security fucking suck and stuff leaks. But does he have China function? I think maybe. Wait till you hear this.
So just that on his face didn't make sense, but I stopped that.
You stopped that. Look at his face. Does this look like a person who is sure about what they just said?
The Obama administration did hit pause on gain of function.
Hit pause on gain of function, meaning they stopped it during their administration. They couldn't permanently stop it forever and ever, but they stopped it when they were in office. Yeah.
Research, though, and that was lifted under your watch.
Womp, 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 womp. Let's see that again.
Pause on.
Hold on.
Makes sense, but I stopped that.
The Obama administration did hit pause on gain of function research, though, and that was lifted under your watch. Why did you allow the gain of function research to continue?
Well, I think probably people that worked for me looked at it, and at one point they might have done that, but ultimately...
The best people.
What we did was we shut it off. We shut the whole thing off, and we stopped making payments that were approved much earlier than our administration.
Yeah, he stopped paying the security funds and lifted the ban on gain of function research. Now, do I believe necessarily that this has anything to do with COVID growing or getting worse or whatever. No. But the argument here is that that's probably where it came from. Oh my God, it was the gain of function. That's what Rand Paul is selling. That's the whole Rand Paul thing. Rand Paul, like, if you've seen the whole Rand Paul trounces Anthony Fauci, that it's all about gain of function, okay? Run that by me again.
Done that, but ultimately what we did was we shut it off. We shut the whole thing off, and we stopped making payments that were approved much earlier than our administration.
Do you?
Yeah.
Why did you allow the gain of function research to continue?
Can we just revel in that for a fucking second? This is in Australia, by the way. No surprise that, where is it? Sorry, hold on. No, that's the wrong one. That this dickhead didn't ask, sorry, run this back. Hold on.
It appears that some of those statements, funding from the United States government, it appears that some of those statements don't exactly align with the truth at this point. Early on, there was a lot of confusion. I get that. But it appears now that his statements about gain of function research in the Wuhan lab and funding from the United States government, it appears that some of those statements don't exactly align with the truth.
Oh, yeah? Sorry. Sir, what was that? Bongino?
Did hit pause on gain of function.
Hold on.
The Obama administration did hit pause on gain of function research, though, and that was lifted under your watch.
Sorry, I have to kill this. There we go.
Point.
Yeah.
Should he resign from the Wuhan lab and funding from the United States government? It appears that some of those statements don't exactly align with the truth at this point.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I just want you to appreciate this show and the good I try to do for you in your life in this very moment. Because I guarantee that nowhere else on the internet are you finding someone doing a show like mine in general with so much charm and grace, but also that when dipshits like this run interference for assholes like that about this kind of thing, can fucking pull out a slam dunk clip like that. Have you seen anyone else run this clip in progressive media showing you that, and not only that, just running it? Have you seen anybody else play this in rebuttal to Trump's bullshit? Especially finding it live when this dickhead pulls this nonsense up. Anybody? Can I just have, honest to God, I want you to know that I work hard to make sure that I'm bringing you something that other people miss. And you have seen something just now that the vast majority of people that I see talking about this shit on Twitter or watching a clip with Rand Paul shitting on Fauci aren't going to know that not only did Trump restart gain-of-function research that Obama had stopped during his administration, but he cut off the security funds. You didn't need money for gain-of-function. You had to support the tech. You had to be okay with it. It's not that much work. We weren't funding it. We didn't have to at that point. We just let them do it. Just let them go back to doing it. We're not going to stop them. We're not even going to give a shit. They can keep doing it. And by the way, we're also going to take out all the funding that we've been giving them for security to make sure that if they do manage to create a disease that grows into some sort of giant biohazard, they won't even have the locks on the door or the seals on the cabinets to keep the shit in. Love your show, and the only place I come for American news. You do a better job on Australian media tackling Sky Australia than anyone. Thank you. I don't have corporate bosses breathing down my neck. Yeah, I guess so, but neither do any of the, like, TYT doesn't. Pacman doesn't. Tom Hartman doesn't. Steph doesn't. They just don't know. They don't know about this shit. Or they don't care. I don't like. I would never presume they don't care to know. I just don't think they like it's in their sphere of awareness. And maybe because I've spent time in China, I'm more aware of a lot of this stuff. But this stuck out like a sore thumb to me when I watched this special on this bullshit. I was very aware that like this. I'm like, you know, because this was happening about the same time, a world away. This fucking, look at this dipshit. She just called him out on the gain of function stuff that Rand Paul has been like trying to steamroll Anthony Fauci about. Fauci worked under Obama. Of course he did. And he worked under him when Obama, like they hit pause on it, meaning they stopped it during their presidency, during his presidency. No, we do not allow that under the Obama presidency. Absolutely not. Violation of our policy. Don't do it. And Trump got in and went, anything Obama is for, I'm against, and anything he's against, I'm for. And he kick-started gain-of-function research at the Wuhan lab. 2 years before COVID. At the same time he was dismantling our pandemic response team. It's amazing to me that the QAnons don't latch onto this shit. Jesus. And you think Bongino's seen this fucking special? No.
Should he resign?
Well, I'm the one that stopped the funding, as you know, when I heard about it.
I remember.
Funding. And
No, he didn't stop the funding for gain of function. He stopped the funding for security.
And I stopped it very quickly, very strongly.
No, you didn't. He restarted it for 2 years.
Look, he was always fine to me. To be honest, just call me Anthony. Just call me Tony.
Oh, just call me Anthony. Just call me Tony. Get the fucking story straight.
And I said, okay, Tony, what's going on? So he wanted to.
Said, yeah, great story. It's so personal. It just kind of makes it. I feel like I was there. Yeah, just hey, okay, good guy. Just call me that. Cool.
It open to China, I closed it. He wanted to keep it open to Europe, I closed it. He then said, President Trump saved tens of thousands of lives. You know.
Yeah, he had to kiss your ass to get you to do the 15 days to slow the spread.
I would oftentimes do the opposite of what he said. He hated masks. He said masks are terrible.
No, he didn't. He didn't say they offered protection against this. They offered limited protection. Now we know it matters a lot. But they didn't know that at the time. Now there's studies. In June of 2020, there's a shit ton of studies about masks and their efficacy. And what they found out was it not only affected the transmission, but the amount of virus that entered your system was directly affecting how sick people got.
A radical masker. But look, he's been there for many, many years, I guess like decades. And
yeah, and the American population has gone up every year that fucker's been in office until you got in.
Protected and lots of other things. But I did a lot of the opposite of what he asked me to do.
Every time we cut back to him, he's like, this fucking dude. I can't believe I'm actually talking to this asshole. I should be in power. Why is Trump in charge of anything? He's obviously a dipshit. Why aren't I in charge? My suit jacket's better than his suit jacket. I really do love the country. This dipshit didn't serve or anything.
You know, he's a great promoter, less of a doctor than a promoter. And to be honest with you, I always got along.
It's interesting that he almost quotes exactly what he said in this Sky News documentary, the same one where she calls him out for restarting gain-of-function research.
Them very well, but, you know, he certainly has. He is a mixed blessing. There's no question about it.
He's a mixed blessing. If I hadn't done the opposite of what he said, we would have had millions of dead, but that's kind of a mixed blessing assertion.
Yeah, no doubt. Just a couple more questions. You've been very generous.
Yeah. No doubt. This, yeah, bruh.
Your time. We're talking to President Donald Trump. Mr. President,
citation needed. I happen to think after listening to this interview, Dan Bongino, that this is a recording from someone else's interview, and you know that no one will notice because his answers are always the fucking same.
Is clearly out of control. This was not an issue in your administration because I believe having...
Yes. Nathan, imagine being president of the United States and ending up having to take crap gigs like bitching about how you lost with a dude who lost his own podcast. Technically, he has a podcast. He lost his radio show. But at the same time, you're absolutely correct. Congratulations, Bongino. Next stop, Donald Trump, Flashpoint.
To you, we've had a nice relationship that nobody gets the economic conditions like the man on the ground better than you. You've had to deal with it. You had to build in New York. I don't think people understand, me and you being New Yorkers, how hard that is.
Well, yeah, it's obviously a mob-connected criminal enterprise. You can't build in New York without being mobbed out the ass, which is not something that the rest of America deals with. It is kind of unique to Manhattan, and it's one of the reasons why you're comfortable with criminality and violence in a way that other people aren't, while we all try to have legit businesses.
Dealing with unions, people are always...
I know about the ongoing issue with Facebook. There's nothing I can do about it, and it's effectively not caused by anybody that's on my end. I think it's something that Facebook is going through, guys. Honest to God. If you have real problems in the chat or you don't feel like you can contribute, please consider going to infotainmentwars.com and joining the YouTube chat, or going to twitch.tv/HalSparks. I apologize, but that's it. Yeah.
To shake you down. You're dealing with corrupt politics.
Right. It's a criminal fucking enterprise. You buy into being a fucking criminal in New York. Listen, he's even bragging about it. Listen to this bullshit.
You had to build in New York. I don't think people understand, me and you being New Yorkers, how hard that is. You're dealing with unions. People are always trying to shake you down. You're dealing with corrupt politics. I mean, right?
Right? It's just like it's like you have to be a criminal.
Everybody did.
My father, he was a building inspector on Long Island, Mr.
Oh, so basically he took bribes, is what you're saying.
And that's one of the reasons he admired you. He's like, you have no idea what these builders go through in New York City. Yep. So you got it done.
Yeah, because they have to bribe the building inspectors.
You understood what interest rates mean and the damage they can do. And we had inflation nicely under control in your administration. Joe Biden gets in. He shuts down the supply side. He pays people to not work.
Shuts down the supply side? What the fuck are you talking about? What, did Biden steal all the coal from China so their factories don't fucking work? Shuts down the supply side. Well, I thought nothing was made in America anymore. I thought all of our factories had been shipped overseas. Shut down the supply side?
Building anything. So a whole bunch of money is now chasing a bunch of products not being built. And as we said in my...
Wait a minute. Sorry. Americans have a whole bunch of money right now and nowhere to spend it. And that's the problem?
Where we joked around Trumpstradamus. you predicted this stuff, that this was going to happen, and look what happened.
I did. Well, look, inflation is going to be a very bad thing, and it's only going to get worse.
No. It's going to be an issue, and as wages go up, it'll be affected in that, and there'll be vacillations in it, and everybody's worried about that once the supply chain gets straightened out in a year or so, there's going to be deflation. How Dr. Birx gets all the hate when she was babysitting a psychopath, an area harsh word for Dr. Fauci. Yeah, they both are full of shit. Although Fauci they pulled him back when he wouldn't toe the line. Birx towed the line. That was the concerning part about her.
A lot of it is driven by energy, Dan, because everything needs energy. If you make a product, if you do anything, you need energy. You have to truck it.
Yes, guys, please. Everybody get your notepads out. We're going to learn how business works.
You need it in your factories, but you have to deliver it, the planes.
And by your factories, we mean Chinese factories.
Trucks, everything. And it all needs energy. We were energy independent for the first time in the history of our country. They say 75 years. But
I'm sure the Breitbart angle on this is true. After restricting U.S. production, by the way, restricting U.S. production, according to Breitbart, is canceling a Canadian shale oil pipeline. A Canadian shale oil pipeline that we have to buy off the market like everybody else, and they can truck across their own fucking country to their ports without poisoning our aquifers. Do I have to pull up the picture of all? Go, anybody, if you're a right-winger and a troll or a maggot, go Google pipelines in the United States. How many fucking pipelines are in this country? I bet you think there aren't any, or there's two.
The history of our country, we didn't need anybody. We didn't need the Middle East. Now we're going back. I don't know if you saw Biden is now going back and begging OPEC to send us oil.
No, to sell oil to Europe because our guys were, because the price was going up in Europe, they were selling oil drilled over here to Europe because Europe's countries tend to bail themselves out of these situations at a higher rate, especially when it comes to energy. And the Russian pipeline isn't even open yet. They're still getting it on boats, and those are backed up because there's COVID all over Russia.
People to send us things. Russia, Saudi Arabia. It's just unbelievable. We were.
By the way, Trump, if you'll recall, in the middle of 2020 was begging Russia and Saudi Arabia to stop producing oil.
Totally energy. We were bigger than Russia, bigger than Saudi Arabia by far.
Bigger than them? What the fuck?
We were going to be double their size very short.
We were going to be double their size very shortly. As oil producers in the world?
And as you remember, gasoline was $1.87 when I left a gallon.
Yes, when no one could drive because there was no place to go.
Now it just hit $7.70 in California.
No, it doesn't. We already looked at this. The gas station that is charging $7.70 in 2018 was charging $11 a gallon.
It's going to be there. It's going to go higher. It's going to go even higher. And when you're paying high energy.
So I think the answer we all understand is electric cars, everybody.
Everything else is going up. A lot of it's driven by energy.
By the way, in case you missed this, you guys mind real quick? I know I'm running late today, but I love you and I need to show this or whatever. California, $7 a gallon. This will be the first article that comes up, I have no doubt. Let's see. It'll probably be the same one I looked at. There it is. Fact or fiction. Yeah, here you go. Just in case anybody was wondering, Trump's full of shit, but how full of shit is he? Fact or fiction, California gas station charging $7 per gallon. Is that true? Yeah, it is true. It is true. But interestingly enough, it's $7.59 a gallon. It's $8.50 for premium. In 2019, and I don't remember, somebody's going to have to remind me who was president in 2019, it was $11.75 before fucking COVID in that same fucking city, you assholes. You make this bigger and bigger. Jump over there. Make it a full screen. Get that Ralph's ad out of my way. Thank you. Get away. What are you doing? Close. Minus. I just have to minus it a little bit. Jesus. So much stuff. There we go. $11.75. Same station. The station that's charging $7. Hi, maggots. Hi, Trumpsters. Hi, trolls. Hi, Trump fans. Your former president and current Führer is a fucking moron. And even post-COVID, where everyone agrees we're experiencing some level of inflation, the gas in this town, where they're charging $7.59 a gallon and $8.50 for premium, was charging $11.75 for regular gas. And the reason you don't know this is because you're a moron who follows Trump and sniffs his farts. Hey! That means you, Dan Bongino. Hey, Dan Bongino. When you watch this clip later, memorize that fucking number, Dumbo. You're going to accidentally say $11.75 in a conversation about something else because this number is burned in your fucking head, because that's the price of a gallon of gas at the station that's selling it for $7.50 a gallon, which is what Trump brought up and what he's talking about. That's the only place that's doing it. And that place was charging $11.75 for a single gallon of gas in 2019 when you were the fucking president.
We were energy independent for the first time, and now they're begging OPEC to send us energy.
No. to sell it to Europe because they choke Europe, and Exxon and Chevron take the oil they get out of the ground here and they sell it to Europe at a higher rate because they're just chasing the highest price because they lost a shit ton of money last year.
It's a disgrace.
And by the way, Saudi Arabia is oil poor. Russia has the oil, not Saudi Arabia. They're cash poor and they're out of oil.
Incredible.
No, it is. It's embarrassing. I mean, it's making the country look like buffoons. But one of the
No. You two are attempting to make America look like buffoons, but you two are fucking buffoons.
I'm not going to share any personal details. One of the better conversations we had, one time you and I we were talking, and I was really impressed with your depth of knowledge on interest rates and how all this works.
Yeah. Tell us all about it on interest rates and how all this works. Now, you got to understand, Bongino is an intellectual heavyweight with the reading comprehension of roadkill, actually, of a dog that's been hit by a car but only has a little while to live, and you're sadly watching it pass away, and you're trying to go read the Bible before you die. So you go to, because all dogs go to heaven, but not unless they just read John 3:16, puppy.
Even your time in the real estate business. And I don't think people understand as interest rates go up to tame inflation, when you're working with OPM, right, other people's money, like a lot of builders and a lot of people in the economy do. People want to be in on a project. You take other people's money as an investment. These interest rates going up and up and up are going to destroy all that. No one's going to invest in a project with a 5% return if they think they can wait a few months and get 10%. I mean,
what? Interest rates are not going up to 10 fucking percent.
It's going to destroy the whole economy.
And by the way, Democrats pour fiscal accelerant on the inflation fire. This is October 14th. Inflation is outpacing hourly wage gains, which have risen 4.6% compared to inflation of 5.4%, which means real paychecks are falling, not rising under Biden. Now, any sane person would recognize that inflation, by the way, which is affected, is largely the car market, is driving that number, and not groceries on the same level, are not going up 5%. They're going up 1.8%. And people are seeing a person-to-person wage gain that is outpacing normal inflation, a price of eggs, that kind of shit. But if you include in buying a new car, or bigger ticket items, that's what drives it up to 5.4%. And even 5.7% in this particular area. Let's go back over here, if we could, real quick. And we'll go in here. Where's this? Let's just go to Google. Why not? And we'll go in here to, let's see, inflation adjusted across goods. Let's see. News. If you don't get a 5% raise this year, you aren't necessarily taking a pay cut due to inflation. Depends on your basket of goods as a consumer. Oh, here we go. We'll go across what this means. Here's why. Inflation has increased as the U.S. economy recovers from the coronavirus pandemic, pushing up prices on goods such as food, gasoline, and cars. In September, consumer prices rose 0.4% more than expected and pushed the year-over-year gains to 5.4%, hitting a nearly 30-year high, according to the latest data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The uptick in inflation has already hurt consumers, who are likely feeling the higher cost of certain items in their wallet. It also prompted a 5.9% cost of living increase for people on Social Security, the largest jump in 40 years, especially the end of the year. Okay, so not a pay cut. There's some good news for workers worried about their earning power being eroded by inflation. Economists generally say that getting less than 5% raise this year isn't the same as taking a pay cut. It's not. It's a lot more nuanced than that. It depends on your basket of goods as a consumer. For most people, prices of the things they've had to pay for are going up, but these impacts are quite varied across the board. The indexes for food and shelter in September contributed more than half of the monthly increase. Food rose 0.9%, with food at the home jumping 1.2%. Energy also jumped 1.3%, with gasoline up 1.2%. For the year, there are also a few specific things that are driving the overall price index. Energy prices are up nearly 25%, and gasoline is up more than 42% from September. Prices of used cars and trucks, though they declined on the month in September, are up 20% from a year ago. Because of these pockets of inflation, most consumers won't see their individual costs go up 5.4% across the board. If you aren't planning to buy a car, for example, or aren't taking any trips that would be hit by the higher fuel prices, you won't be hit with the highest areas of inflation. Not everybody flew on a plane or bought a used car in the last year. The data doesn't tell the personal story of every single person. The relationship of inflation and wages. And by the way, he doesn't talk about interest rates in this at all. Notice he just went, I notice how you know more about like interest rates and inflation, and interest rates are going to be driven up by the interest rates and the Fed raising interest rates, and you know more about that interest rates. Meanwhile, he's putting up an article about inflation versus wage increases.
Well, you're almost too young for this, but during Jimmy Carter,
America gained more jobs, double the jobs they did under the Trump administration. That's right. Twice as many jobs were created in a country that had fewer people in it under the Carter administration than during the Trump administration.
Crime rate went up to 21 or 22%, and everything came to a halt.
The prime rate went to 22%. Yeah, So basically what you're saying is we could get it up to 15 and it wouldn't be a fucking problem?
And it was just out of control. The country was out of control. That was caused by inflation, and the interest rates went so high that nobody could borrow money. It was like a whole disaster. And
I mean, stop him if he's getting too technical, guys. If you need me to pause it so he can break down his finely tuned concept of the numbers in these things.
You know, you could be heading for something like that. Look.
No, you couldn't. We're not going to 22% fucking prime rate. The Fed is not going to raise interest rates. Shit.
We've never had a situation. We have thousands of ships out at sea, and they have no prospect of being unloaded.
Well, yeah, because we haven't had the last time we had a pandemic, we didn't have international trade on this scale. The last time we had a pandemic, families were sending their scrap food to China so people wouldn't starve to death. I don't know if you know this, Trump, but the Spanish flu was pre-Walmart, and they didn't even have Amazon at the time.
Whoever even heard of that? The things that are happening in our country, nobody's ever seen this before.
Yeah, just like COVID, dipshit.
I don't know if you've seen the recent picture. I saw one from yesterday.
You've seen the recent picture. This man is going to he's going to introduce a policy recommendation based on a picture he saw. Let's hear about the picture.
A satellite shot. It's so many ships out at sea, they're never going to be unloaded the way.
A satellite shot? You mean the drone shot, fucko?
And it's nobody ever thought this stuff was possible, and it's true. They've taken out incentives so that people aren't working. I mean, they're better off not working because they do just as well or better, so they don't want to work anymore. And you take it.
Yeah, lazy Americans. I mean, that's the problem. Fucking Americans, am I right? You tell them, Dan. Get Trump to shit on Americans in general. I mean, lazy. They just want to take unemployment insurance rather than go to a job where a bunch of Trumpers will cough the Delta variant into their fucking face.
You're really taking away the American dream, and
they've taken away the American dream. Fucking hell. Yeah, the American dream of buying Chinese goods at Walmart. I mean, is there really even a Christmas?
Shame. We're going socialist and we're going...
Yes, exactly. Just being me. The ships are sitting at everyone's shores, all over the fucking world.
We have people setting up the Green New Deal done by AOC who never knew anything about the environment. She didn't study the environment. She knew nothing.
Not like you did.
About it.
Yeah, I know. She's just hot.
She said 2 years ago we had 12 years to live.
No, she did not. No one said we had 12 years to live. This is what happens. This is a good example of shit in your ears. Everybody was saying, we've got 12 years until we hit a point of no return as far as climate change. And we can keep working until then to try and either push that on. The more work we do, by the way, the more it pushes that out. But eventually, if it overtakes it, there'll be a force accelerator and we will overtake that date, and then we're going to be fucked, and it's just going to be mitigatory forever, and then bad air and bad water forever, and that's we're going to spend all our time fixing the earth. But he said 12 years we're all going to die, is what he heard.
Is crazy. The whole
yes, and the good point. The extra unemployment benefits ended months ago.
Thing is absolutely crazy. And now he's over there. He's going to Scotland, to Glasgow, Scotland, on a meeting on the environment, and yet China and Russia aren't showing up, and India said,
yes, we know. You know what? If they're not going to take care of the environment, why should the rest of us bother?
They're not going to do it. So if they're not going to do it, we're only...
By the way, Russia's not going to do it because it's fucking Russia. But please tell us how they have a strong leader and they're in charge and they're good people. And China is up to their ass in problems.
5% of the entire, if you're talking about pollutants, we're less than 5%.
No, we're not. We pollute more than our population by like 20%. We can have an impact by ourselves. If we align ourselves with all the other Western democracies and the first world countries, we can push that date. Ultimately, the developing world is going to have to join us to make a genuine impact. But that 12-year window, we can push it if we work on it ourselves. We can push it to 15 or 20 years. And in that time, give energy options to the third world countries that will not be as damaging as, say, coal. And you would know that if you didn't have COVID brain and weren't stupid to start with.
China, India, Russia aren't going to be doing what we're doing.
And by the way, India is taking more steps than China and Russia combined. But again, the first world countries are going to have to lead the way.
They won't, never, because they want to continue to make money and be prosperous. What we're doing to our country is insane. If they're not going to do it, then we're going to be put in a position we're the only one that's going to do it. That means we're not going to be able to compete. Our products are going to cost 5 times more.
Yeah, if we don't burn a shit ton of coal, how can we compete?
We have windmills being built all over the country, destroying our birds.
Yeah, we're going to be out of fucking birds. Now, windmills kill like somewhere in the order of like a million birds a year, like 1.23 million birds a year are killed by windmills. House cats kill 1 billion, and they don't even generate energy. I'd love to play Xbox, but the cat hasn't eaten a bird today.
Destroying our landscape, destroying our...
And by the way, ruining our landscape, am I the only person who happens to think that the giant wind turbines are cool looking?
In our lakes, it's crazy. And you know where the windmills are made, Dan?
Germany.
They're all made in China and in Germany.
Right. Mostly in Germany. Some in Mexico. Parts of them are made in Canada. Some of them are made here.
We make nothing.
Which you warned about during your presidency. Last question.
They could be. He warned about their existence.
Go. I know you got to run. This disastrous spending bill. Joe Biden's wants to bankrupt us immediately. This spending bill. Your thoughts on it? They want to spend now between $1 and $2 trillion. It's all on a bunch of pet projects. Again, incentivizing people.
Yeah, pet projects, incentivizing children not to work. They these toddlers are going to go to preschool now instead of going straight to the factory. These other kids will graduate school and continue their education and get a vocational job or jumpstart their university experience and raise their grades up so they don't have to, they're better educated and stuff like that. When they're just lazy, why won't they just go work at Popeyes and shut the fuck up?
Work and live off the government dole.
Live off the government dole. Fucking toddlers.
On that.
It's a disaster. It's going to drive prices through the roof. It's going to be a disincentive to work.
Why?
It's going to be building things that we don't want to have built.
Building things we don't want to have built. Oh, you mean like the Keystone Pipeline? No, that's not in there.
It's going to be reliant on wind power, which is the worst and most expensive form of energy.
No, it isn't. Where in the world does any person think that the infrastructure bill or the Build Back Better plan are majority wind?
It is. People have no.
Dude, there's nuclear seed projects in that. We haven't had nuclear new ones in a while. Come on, thorium reactors. Don't get me started.
Yeah, how bad it is. And by the way, when they talk about wind and
why don't they just call this the Barry Bird's Better plan?
When they're making those wind tunnels, if you're a believer in that, when they're making those big windmills and the massive steel, whether it's China or Germany, they're the ones that do it. The stuff going up into the air is worse than anything that could happen in this country from using fossil fuel.
Yes, the construction of the wind turbines. Now, if they really wanted to help the environment, they would take those same materials, the steel, the electronics in them, and make a coal plant.
So the whole thing is ridiculous, and until we get the right people in office, we thought we had it. We were doing so well.
So well. 600,000+ dead, total disregard for any protections around a pandemic, and then fuck it, we get hit by one. We had 1/3 of a trade deal with China, 10 billion, I think 13 billion ultimately, is a huge hit against a $500 billion trade deficit that's all like, which is 50% fucking Walmart.
Everything was good. We were respected.
Everything was good. We were respected, except where they laughed at us.
Again, as a country, like, totally respected.
Like, totally respected, guys. Like, it was totally. Like, when I say respected, I mean, like, totally. Guys, it was, like, totally respected in the world, okay? We were like, seriously, I need to, like, flip my hair. I knocked my headphone out. I need, like, totally respected. Guys, I feel like I should flip my hair when I say, like, totally. Like, guys, we were, like, totally, when I say respected, like, totally.
Now we're a laughing stock.
Now we're, like, totally a laughing stock.
Over the world.
What is he, is he talking about America or an Instagram account?
After watching Afghanistan, China no longer has the fear of us.
No, they're too busy being afraid of rain, running out of coal, their own people, the Afghan ISIS-K terrorists who want to attack them for what they've done to the Uyghurs, Russia not putting up with their shit anymore, Japan, the AUKUS agreement that we have with Australia and the UK to give them nuclear-powered submarines, our nuclear-powered submarines and nuclear-capable submarines that are now parked in Australian ports and are traveling in the waters around Australia. There's a lot of things to be afraid of.
After watching Afghanistan, nobody does. Plus, they don't rely on us anymore because they say we're unreliable.
Where did they get that idea?
We are a laughing stock all over the world, Dan.
Based on what? Seriously, based on what? Boris Johnson, and which was Trump's buddy. He's a British Trumper. He's all Brexity. Partnering with Biden and Australia to push back against China around Taiwan and the Indo-Pacific region. Reinvigorating the Quad. We have soldiers in Taiwan. The president has said, yes, we would defend Taiwan. Now, they had to dance around that, but that's Biden's genuine policy. And Xi Jinping knows this. This was him putting them on notice.
That's unfortunate. Mr. President, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, and by the way, whoever Bongino's editor is, great job taking the last 9 interviews Trump gave and basically just scissoring them together into the same bullshit. I appreciate that. I mean, it beats going to Staples and making a rubber stamp out of these answers.
Deeply appreciate it. Congratulations on the announcement of your new platform. It exploded. Of course, the interest in you.
It exploded. That's a great way of looking at it. It exploded. Hold on. Did it explode? Let's see. Truth Social stock price. There we go. Go Truth Social, everything we know so far. DWS on October 21st. Let me see where this is. Ah, here you go. There you go. It certainly, I'm sure it did great. Hold on, let's look it up. Trump's new social media app scheme is performing exactly as he hoped as stock. Oh. Well, I'm sure that's what he planned all along. He predicted that was going to happen. I mean, we all know it. That had to be clearly the goal in the beginning. You don't want a winning social media platform.
And your content is still out there. We can see that. So thank you very much for staying in the fight. We really appreciate it.
By the way, thanks for putting Truth Social out there to fuck with Parler, where Bongino still has a stake, even though he cashed out early before the shit hit the fan.
Look forward to your announcement about 2024. We hope if something happens, we'd love to hear about it.
Well, Dan, I'll just leave you with one little thought and one little statement.
Sure.
The good news, because it sounds like a pretty bad news deal. It can all be fixed.
It can all be fixed. So it's not destroyed. Oh, it's like Trump is channeling David Pakman. It's not a disaster. I know I've said it's a disaster. You know, I'm just disastering the whole fucking time as a disaster. It's a fucking disaster. But it's not. It's a fixable disaster. It's like half a disaster. It's like a 20. It's like an 80-20 disaster, and I can turn it back into the fuck. This is dumb.
Quickly.
Thank you, sir. We know.
Yeah, it can be fixed, and it can be fixed quickly. Oh, so it's not an actual problem. If they're destroying our country and you've never seen anything like it, then it can't be fixed and be fixed quickly. If it can be fixed and fixed quickly, that means it is not a big problem. Yeah, how's my brother? He was in a car accident. Yeah, his head came off. And his lungs are outside of his body. Part of his leg is actually sticking through his hip. His right leg is sticking through his hip. His teeth, we haven't found them yet. But this can all be, and it sounds like a disaster. I know it sounds like he's destroyed. But it's something we can fix and fix quickly. I don't want you to worry too much. That's what, that is the equivalent of what is being said here. Just a series of friggin' douchebags like this. I gotta go drive to Vegas tonight, and then it turns out, there was a dropout for COVID reasons, I think, at the Tempe, Arizona Improv this weekend. So my agent called me this morning and said, "Hey, would you mind doing shows this weekend? Are you up for it?" I know, and I'm always up for it, depending on what it is. And it turns out I'm going to be doing 5 shows there this weekend. And my dear friend Charlene May, who just like I, needs to desperately get out there and do some comedy in front of the peoples, is going to be joining me. So if you're anywhere near the Tempe, Arizona Improv this weekend, I'm doing 2 shows Friday, 2 shows Saturday, 1 show Sunday. And so I have to drive back tonight and then fly out tomorrow night after I do our show together tomorrow afternoon, 4:00 p.m. Pacific time. Then I get to do a show for 2 hours, pack my shit up, and then fly to Tempe, Arizona, do radio that morning, do my morning show with you guys just after I come back from radio, which is going to be crazy. Do my show in the afternoon, do 2 shows that night, get up in the morning, do my radio show, then do 2 more shows that night, then collapse into a heap, sleep all day Sunday, and do a show in the evening. So, yeah. Yes, I will be a regular show tomorrow on Thursday. So, there you go. I will be coming to the San Francisco Bay Area. I just don't know when. But this just came up. And yes, show's an hour later than normal tomorrow. And I'm going to go hop in a car and drive 4 hours because that's what I do. And I want to thank you guys for your support and your trust, which I do not take for granted. And so when I say some shit that might piss you off occasionally or go contrary to the narrative that you're used to hearing, I don't say that stuff flippantly. I say it because it is important to me to provide value to you you may not find somewhere else, and also to give you the truth as I see it, not just because this is the narrative that's going around and there's a bandwagon to be jumped on. It means, yeah, it's integral to my character that I give you that. So I appreciate you guys. I will see you tomorrow, and Chip will be making a visit during the show tomorrow. I have no doubt, because I won't get to see him the rest of the weekend. I don't get to see my Chip. I didn't get to see him last night. I didn't get to see him this morning. And then I get to go home and I see him for a little bit at my girlfriend. And then I gotta go. All right. So I'll let you guys go. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. And remember, if I say something that you've never heard before, it's because I do my homework for you. So appreciate it. Take care, and I will see you later. Okay, and then I'm going to put this thing up. That's the end of the show. It's the House Parks Comedy Show, and I'm leaving to go on the road again. This is the theme song for the show, and I'm doing the show, and I'm going on the road in Tempe, Arizona this weekend. Do. Bye, everybody. Sorry, I don't have a theme song, but I think that was good, actually, personally. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. That's the end. I should have. That was right. That sounded way better. I'm just saying. Just say that. Bye. Thanks for coming to the show. House Park Show. Remember when I had short hair? Hey! Okay, bye. Bye. See you later. Bye.